The Buffalo Sabres are in action tonight, and it will be their first home game since clinching a playoff berth over the weekend. They will play host to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Pregame is at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. For the Sabres, UPL is expected to start in net, and Tage Thompson also expected to play tonight after missing the morning skate due to what was called a maintenance day. While for the Lightning, Brandon Hagel will not play, according to head coach John Cooper. And the Sabres injury report, it is brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Door. Is your garage door injured? Call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. There are then just 3 other games tonight. 7:30, the Jets host Seattle. At 10, Chicago's out west versus the Sharks. And then at 10:30, the Kings, they will host Nashville. In the NFL, the Ravens begin their offseason program today due to them having a new head coach, Jesse Minter. Every other team, though, with the new head coach, including the Bills, will begin their programs tomorrow. And then Giants All-Pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade out of New York. Some game action tonight. The Blue Jays, they take on the Dodgers. That first pitch is just after 7 p.m. And we also have the national championship in men's basketball. UConn taking on Michigan at 8:50. Michigan is looking for their first title since 1989 and second overall, while UConn is looking to win 3 of the last 4 national titles and 7th overall. And then North Carolina has their next head coach as they're reportedly hiring former Nuggets head coach Mike Malone. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't love junior mints. I just don't hate them. I don't understand why they are treated like second-class candy.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Oh,
there's a
you don't
fantasy
understand why a
team name.
candy that is basically toothpaste wrapped up in stale chocolate is treated like a second-class candy. All right, I get it. It's a good, valid question.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Is there a time to change? You know, the 3 teams I've drafted this year, second-class candy is pretty good.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Maybe this is rationalizing, but the NFL draft is in 2 weeks and 3 days. Mm-hmm. And we were realizing out loud 2 or 3 weeks ago that we don't really have as much room for the draft this year because of the Sabres being in the playoffs. I mean, heading to the playoffs and now making it, and then eventually they'll be in. But I decided today that it's a terrible draft.
Oh, hey now. Okay.
Isn't it? So Bill Barnwell every year has this great column where he comes up with a mock trade for every team using their pick, right? So today, starting with the Raiders at 1, they traded it to the Jets at 2 for some other picks, right? And I love that idea. I look forward to that every year. And I read it today, and almost every trade was just moving around on the board. You know, like, you don't have the quarterbacks. You really don't. I mean, you have Jeremiah Love for what that's worth. You have a few receivers that are not amazing. I mean, maybe they're good. Maybe they'll be amazing, but it's not like just undeniable. And then what? I mean, you're talking about defense and linemen.
Edge guys are kind of sexy, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
It's a premium position.
That's right. But I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe the timing is good here. Yeah. And the Bills pick late again anyway.
Yeah. Are you sure you don't just feel this way because we're not spending as much time talking to people about it?
No.
And thus formulating a variety of opinions about guys that just haven't been asked or talked about as many people, maybe.
No, it's because it hit me when I was reading Barnwell that all these trade ideas are fine. You know, he's got a reason for each one, but it's really just like for moving to from 8 to 12 and getting a draft pick. The Bills one involved Coleman. Like, the Bills entry was relatively interesting for this. They trade out of the first round with Tennessee and trade Coleman to the Titans in the move and get a second and a third. I think they maybe gave up a 5th too, but I like that idea. Just, you know, in a vacuum. Moving my 1 for a 2 and a 3. Anyway, it's just, even if the Bills are picking late again as they are, you still have, the last couple of years have been, or 2 of the last 3 maybe, have been wild for quarterback speculation, and now there's just none.
Is it the kind of thing that makes you wonder, I'm going to ask this, and I don't mean it to be impugning anyone's integrity or questioning anyone's integrity about the whole draft process from an analyst standpoint, but I sometimes wonder if like the maybe they have a lottery at ESPN and NFL Network, like the big.
That's the same thing now.
Okay, well, correct.
Almost.
Maybe do they have a lottery, and does whoever wins the lottery, I guess, like short straw kind of thing, like, okay, you're the one that's going to have to talk up the other quarterback. Because I now saw another clip last week or 2 weeks ago. We had the Orlovsky thing with, like, I think, watching the tape, I think Simpson's the better prospect than Mendoza. And that was like, whoa. And we asked we only talked to 2 people with your point in mind that week about the draft instead of like 8, like maybe we would have if the Sabres weren't so hot. I'm exaggerating a little. I don't think on the short end. Anyway, now today I saw a clip of him saying he's more not only did he say that 2 weeks ago, but Simpson would be a better fit running Kubiak's offense for the Raiders than Mendoza is. And I just feel like this is some effort to like get, because that's interesting. Oh, hey, what about Ty Simpson? Should he be the first overall pick or something?
Well,
is that what we're really doing here?
He won't be the first overall pick, but he is arguably the most interesting player to talk about, because we have this every year maybe where like Kenny Pickett, somebody that's like most people think is not that good, but we understand desperation and need for quarterbacks, and there are traits you can like. And so when does he go? But really, I don't know. Do you not agree? Like, maybe you think it's because we don't talk to as many people, or because it's defensive players.
I'm mostly being cheeky about that.
I just don't need. This year is kind of a down year, I think, for it overall. I mean, what would be really brilliant on our part is to talk about that all day. The point is that we have more. I mean, what's the word? We're going to talk about the Sabres already, but it's like less punitive to do that in terms of draft content. That's the point. So let's just get to that, I suppose, right? Especially if we're right about this.
I do suppose. I think, speaking solely for myself, I did not have any sort of a eureka moment like you're describing today, reading this Bill Barnwell piece about every pick in the draft being traded. I think something that isn't as prominent because of other things going on is just very likely for me to not seem as interesting as it usually is, just because there's the other thing. And I really love the other thing, right? The other thing is the Sabres right now. And I mean, any year where we're pouring ourselves into the draft out of the, any of the last 15 years where we're just pouring ourselves into the draft, I'm doing that, and I'm doing my level best at it, and I'm interested in it. To an extent, it's really the only thing I've got, right, that's interesting to my audience. The hockey team just changes that. So even without thinking about who the players are in the draft, you could have a draft that's described as stacked to the gills. 3 quarterbacks in the top 10, 3 in the top 5. And I still might be feeling about the way you're describing about this draft, just because my attention is on the standings and who's playing tonight and how does this team look and did they win in regulation and all that stuff.
Well, let's go then. I was off Thursday and Friday. The Sabres lost Thursday night in Ottawa and then Saturday in Washington. I mean, the scores weren't close. Thursday's game was pretty close.
2 empty netters, yeah.
Saturday's was decided earlier than that. What do you think? What's your level of concern, and what do you think there is overall about this?
I mean, they've won now 2 of their last 7 games. 2 of those, it's 2, 3, and 2, so it's not horrific. I mean, 2 of those were overtime losses, but still, they're losses. I mean, I think I'd be lying if I said I'm not more concerned today than I was the last time we thought, well, I don't know, are they in good form right now? Like, what's going
the wins weren't great.
Right.
Either.
That's right. And Saturday was tough. It was maybe the lousiest I've seen them look, even though they did pull to within 3-2, I think, after falling down 3-0, but then it just, they got boat raced from there.
I think it was 4-1.
So, okay, maybe that's right.
Maybe
I thought they got
Sorry
within
if
1.
I'm wrong about that.
Anyway,
no, you're right. I'm sorry, it's my mistake. Malenstein made it 3-2.
Okay.
And then they didn't score again.
They didn't.
My mistake.
Challenge again. Okay. Anyway, but immaterial. They're not in good form. I happen to think, and this talk about rationalizations, I think it's hard to be at the level they have been at for as long as they've been. And so I guess I've been sort of expecting, ever since Thompson said the thing, which, his captain pushed back. I don't know if he even knew he said it, but his captain issued the exact opposite statement. This is a couple of weeks ago now. Thompson said after a game, after a loss, we've worked hard to get where we're at. We're in a good spot, which to me sounded a little bit like, I'm just going to take a breath here and, don't worry, we're okay kind of thing. But am I going to work as hard as I've been working for the last 3 months every night from here to the end? Probably not, is what that sounded like. And then Dahlin, maybe at the same time, I don't know, other reporters are talking, who's like, you're going to find out what kind of team we are, unacceptable, that kind of stuff. So from the minute Thompson said it, I just sort of thought, it makes sense. They're not going to be at 100 miles an hour all the way to the playoffs and then be at the peak of their game in the playoffs. They're going to probably take a breath, hit a pause. I think that's probably what we're doing tonight. I think we'll tell you a lot about their ability to flip a switch, because I do think they need to flip a switch. I mean, I know that's a sort of a hacky way to describe, but if it's effort and desire to play strong in your own end and better defense, I think that's what certainly was lacking on Saturday night in Washington.
You think it's effort?
I think it's effort. Yeah, I think they're just coasting a little, because I think it's a little natural to just sort of, we're gonna need all of our best here in a couple of weeks. So I think they're just, they press pause. I don't think anyone's the closest you'll come to someone admitting that is Thompson saying what he said. So I hope that that's right, and I would think tonight would be a night where you'd want to turn that on its head. If the players recognize that or think that about themselves, I would think they'd want to be at their best tonight and putting forth a maximum effort, because this is a game with a lot of attention on it. I mean, Tampa's back in front of them by 2 points. They still have that pesky game in hand. So if you still want to win the division, this game really matters.
You might have to have it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to foresee them gaining 4 points on a team that still has an extra game to play if they were to fall 4 points behind. And then you've also got now Montreal, right, tied in points and behind you because they played one more game than you, and that's just how it works. So I think tonight will go a long way, but I'm far from sure I'm going to get what I hope for. They've not been in good form. And I don't know that I'm right about this sort of, little mental, physical break that maybe they're taking here.
I don't think Thompson ever knows what to say. Just get me out of this press conference. Get me out of here. What if these guys he's been around long enough to know what gets you in trouble and what not to say. That's the same thing. So let's just say, something around that these games are not as important as they could be.
That's really what I think he didn't say that.
I don't want to hear that tonight.
No.
But I would get it if it were true. Not that they won't be amped for this game, but I don't want the Sabres to make the mistake of not panicking, but just sort of putting everything in to these next 6 games, five games, right? Tampa has 6 left. Buffalo has 5 games left. Just try to remember what's at stake. And really, it's not that much that's at stake. First place would be great. You might get Boston if you can win the race against Tampa and Montreal. Mm-hmm. Okay. You've been saying you'd rather the Sabres play Montreal than Boston. Is that now no longer true? You think Montreal will be a relatively good spot for them?
I don't think I ever said I would rather play Montreal than Boston, but I'm not scared of Montreal. I think Boston's the easier mark of the two teams.
Okay.
And I think I have felt that way the whole time.
Okay.
But I'm not positive. But Montreal can be scary, but I'm not scared of them, if that's allowed, if that makes sense. I think their high end is really, really good. But I think, the way the Sabres play, I think it's a good matchup for them. Boston's a different kind of thing to me, but I don't think they're as good at all. So.
Okay. Sorry. I think, though, that's still pretty tough. It's not. It hasn't changed. The Bruins and the Canadiens, like some other teams have kind of gone away from the conversation. They're not as much likely candidates anymore, teams like Detroit. But it's still so even, I mean, by points at least, if not by quality, that's some measure of it, that I wouldn't want – I guess it's maybe more mental than anything else, where guys are starting to get scared of where this is going. Remember the 06 story. Not that players on this team would even know it necessarily, but that team lost 8 out of 9 lead.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, I'm sure there were lots of people telling you how bad a sign that was. I mean, I got friends doing that already. And how did they do? I mean, it's the closest they've come to a cup in forever. Right. So I just wouldn't want the mental, that mental piece to come into play. And that's where Lindy comes in, and I want to think that he would have a similar perspective on it for whatever that means in terms of communicating with players. And I still think it's right also in terms of the lineup, where we were 2 weeks ago after the deadline, to want to find out what works and what doesn't. And they did the dance with Metza, sending him down. He comes back up. We're not talking anymore about how few goals he's been on for, right? I mean, that's kind of over. He is what he is. Not that that's bad, but just like we don't need to go crazy about how important he is necessarily. And so even tonight with Shen, okay, I mean, just on a certain level, it makes sense why they'd want to be as big as they can be for this game.
Done too tonight.
Sure, okay. So do it. But I choose not to get freaked out about 2 losses, on the road, or 5 out of 7, whatever framework you want. Because I think the whole point, that's the privilege of clinching or of being at the 99% spot that they were beforehand, is that you can be flexible and try things. And maybe even if I'm not trying too hard by this, maybe even the adversity is good, that you don't go in with such big heads.
And I think if you subscribe to that from out here, I guess my point would be, I think it's hard to keep that away from the players. Like, I think they know where they are and they know what it takes. And, the risk is that you lose it and you never get it back or something, but I don't happen to believe that. So I think my instinct is that they'll be fine. But again, I don't know. The lines are always so fine. It's always so tight that it can be hard to tell. One thought I did have, I mean, I don't know what to expect tonight. We've been in these situations before, not with the standings. It's been a long time since we've had the stand, but here, they're nasty game the time before, cheap shots, retribution. All right, what happens next? And often enough, that game doesn't rise to the level. Not that anything, I wouldn't expect something to rise to the level of that 8-7 game from last month. But even close, like, it's not a physical game at all. Nothing happens in that department. And I don't know what to expect in that way. So I appreciate the Sabres wanting to protect themselves as best they can, because you sure would hate to not dress that element if you've got it at your disposal and then wish you had. So, but I'm a little worried about, them actively choosing to make themselves worse in a game that has pretty big implications on the division. So they're like that piece is there. No Hagel, so like that's the guy that to me you would have, if there was a guy on Tampa that you wanted to get because of last game, he was it. He's the guy that jumped Dahlin and punched him 4 times in the back of the head or whatever the heck it was. And
got a penalty for it even.
He never really,
that's how bad it was.
He never really got, he never got dealt with by a Sabre, right? There were other fights in the game, but that never happened. So he's out with an injury. So you don't have that powder keg if that is what that would have been. So I just wonder what kind of game we're even going to get. It could be a game where you got all the beef dressed and maybe you don't hardly need it.
I'm obviously on the outside here, but I'll say it anyway. That's kind of how this works. Another form of this kind of attitude I'm taking on with these last few games is like, see what happens, but don't feel like this is really what it's about. It's not about this game or the 5 games before the playoffs. It's about the playoffs. I don't want to see Luukkonen play Wednesday and Thursday.
I don't think there's any way you'll see him play Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay. Win the night, win Wednesday, first place, no?
I don't think so.
They do have 4 days off after Thursday?
They've had, that's a hard, I can appreciate them choosing Luukkonen if it appears that that's what they've done. I think to go from alternating all season to any guy playing back-to-back nights is a little nutty, even with the stake. I would be very surprised. And Lyon barely played on Saturday night. He got pulled, and it was the team in front of them and all that. I could see Liddy wanting to get him back on the horse real quick.
I will play devil's advocate with you on that because they might already have decided that he's not in the picture for the playoffs. And they do have that break, and then after next Thursday, when it ends, they'll have another break.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, at least a day. Maybe that's not a break.
Not really,
If the playoffs start Saturday,
right.
That's not really a break. But
it's a day off.
They're off from Thursday to next Tuesday.
Right. They don't play on the weekend this weekend, right?
So he might think he can press it.
Yeah.
If
you
they
could
win,
be right, I'll be really surprised if he doesn't.
If they win the night, he plays in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And if they beat New York, I don't know. Let's hope to find out.
I think someone else goes in. Yeah, but
let's hope to find out.
Yeah, right.
But the way it looks now, he's going to start game 1.
Yeah,
at least.
I think that's correct. Yeah. Unless something, I don't know, there's not that many games left, but I guess it could still something
again.
I don't know. He could be bad.
I guess it could.
So
he's the key man tonight.
But that's the choice. Like they made their choice last week when they started. When he played 3 in a row, that was them, I think, declaring, okay, you've won the playoff job.
When he got Ottawa.
Yeah, right.
Or there was a win before that.
Right, they beat the Islanders and then they went to Ottawa. Mm-hmm. I think that's how they went.
Well, he's a key man tonight. The goalie always is, but he gave up 7 of these guys last time. And now, the way it has taken shape, it's clear that he is the plan. They're going to go to the playoffs for the first time in 15 years. And with 5 games to go before that starts, he is the clear number. He's as number 1 goalie as almost anybody now, given a couple of good results for him and then Lyon in Washington. That's tough on Lyon, right? He doesn't play for so long. And so maybe I'm overstating it a little, but need a great game from him. Just because there's no Brandon Hagel. Tampa's great.
I would expect, I think the whole team is going to need to be, I expect Tampa, if they don't try to push the Sabres around like they did last month, I still think they're going to be, they're going to be firing. Like they got embarrassed by this team twice in a row, once in their building. If 8-7's embarrassing, I don't know. They had 2 late 2-goal leads and couldn't hold it. And then there was all the emotion of it. I just would expect a team like Tampa, the veteran group that they are, to be ready to roll tonight.
What do you think? 803-0550, what are you concerned about? Are you panicking? Are you not? Is panicking ridiculous at this point? I'd like to have a lively conversation about it. Sal Capaccio will join us at 4, mix some football in. We'll see what kind of draft Sal thinks it'll be. The Bills are on the field this week, starting tomorrow, for some workouts. Not that the media will be allowed to bear witness. Sal said there's no access this week, so it's all in secret.
So do we really know they're working out?
No.
I guess that's
absolutely good question. No, nothing happens unless there's somebody there with a phone to document it, or else it didn't happen. That's how it works now. National championship in basketball tonight, the Masters this week, baseball. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, again, the number 803-0550, starting with the Sabres here on WGR. That's the point, so let's just get to that. I suppose, right? Especially if we're right about this.
I do suppose. I think, speaking solely for myself, I did not have any sort of a eureka moment like you're describing today, reading this Bill Barnwell piece about every pick in the draft being traded. I think something that isn't as prominent because of other things going on is just very likely for me to not seem as interesting as it usually is, just because there's the other thing. And I really love the other thing, right? The other thing is the Sabres right now. And I mean, any year where we're pouring ourselves into the draft out of the, any of the last 15 years where we're just pouring ourselves into the draft, I'm doing that, and I'm doing my level best at it, and I'm interested in it. To an extent, it's really the only thing I've got, right, that's interesting to my audience. The hockey team just changes that. So even without thinking about who the players are in the draft, you could have a draft that's described as stacked to the gills. 3 quarterbacks in the top 10, 3 in the top 5. And I still might be feeling about the way you're describing about this draft, just because my attention is on the standings and who's playing tonight and how does this team look and did they win in regulation and all that stuff.
Well, let's go then. I was off Thursday and Friday. The Sabres lost Thursday night in Ottawa and then Saturday in Washington. I mean, the scores weren't close. Thursday's game was pretty close.
2 empty netters, yeah.
Saturday's was decided earlier than that. What do you think? What's your level of concern, and what do you think there is overall about this?
I mean, they've won now 2 of their last 7 games. 2 of those, it's 2, 3, and 2, so it's not horrific. I mean, 2 of those were overtime losses, but still, they're losses. I mean, I think I'd be lying if I said I'm not more concerned today than I was the last time we thought, well, I don't know, are they in good form right now? Like, what's going
the wins weren't great.
Right.
Either.
That's right. And Saturday was tough. It was maybe the lousiest I've seen them look, even though they did pull to within 3-2, I think, after falling down 3-0, but then it just, they got boat raced from there.
I think it was 4-1.
So, okay, maybe that's right.
Maybe
I thought they got
Sorry
within
if
1.
I'm wrong about that.
Anyway,
no, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry, it's my mistake. Malenstein made it 3-2.
Okay,
and then they didn't score again.
They didn't.
My mistake.
Challenge again. Okay. Anyway, but immaterial. They're not in good form. I happen to think, and this talk about rationalizations. I think it's hard to be at the level they have been at for as long as they've been. And so I guess I've been sort of expecting, ever since Thompson said the thing, which, his captain pushed back. I don't know if he even knew he said it, but his captain issued the exact opposite statement. This is a couple of weeks ago now. Thompson said after a game, after a loss, we've worked hard to get where we're at. We're in a good spot, which to me sounded a little bit like, I'm just going to take a breath here and, don't worry, we're okay kind of thing. But am I going to work as hard as I've been working for the last 3 months every night from here to the end? Probably not, is what that sounded like. And then Dahlin, maybe at the same time, I don't know, other reporters are talking, who's like, you're going to find out what kind of team we are, unacceptable, that kind of stuff. So from the minute Thompson said it, I just sort of thought, it makes sense. They're not going to be at 100 miles an hour all the way to the playoffs and then be at the peak of their game in the playoffs. They're going to probably take a breath, hit a pause. I think that's probably what we're doing tonight. I think will tell you a lot about their ability to flip a switch, because I do think they need to flip a switch. I mean, I know that's a sort of a hacky way to describe, but if it's effort and desire to play strong in your own end and better defense, I think that's what certainly was lacking on Saturday night in Washington.
You think it's effort?
I think it's effort. Yeah, I think they're just coasting a little, because I think it's a little natural to just sort of, we're gonna need all of our best here in a couple of weeks. So I think they're just, they press pause. I don't think anyone's the closest you'll come to someone admitting that is Thompson saying what he said. So I hope that that's right, and I would think tonight would be a night where you'd want to turn that on its head. If the players recognize that or think that about themselves, I would think they'd want to be at their best tonight and putting forth a maximum effort, because this is a game with a lot of attention on it. I mean, Tampa's back in front of them by 2 points. They still have that pesky game in hand. So if you still want to win the division, this game really matters.
You might have to have it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to foresee them gaining 4 points on a team that still has an extra game to play if they were to fall 4 points behind. And then you've also got now Montreal, right, tied in points and behind you because they played one more game than you, and that's just how it works. So
doubt in my
go
mind
a long way, but
but that isn't good enough. We've got work to do in these last regular season games, and then moving forward, it's how good can we be day one with whoever we have to play.
Lindy Ruff, your call's coming up, 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. I was interested in what clinching the playoffs would look like to the team, but what a perfect escape
right?
to have it happen during the day and
Saturday
then go lose.
Right?
Like there's not going to be champagne.
No, that's right. Yeah.
So we didn't really find out
how much exaltation there could have been or would have been
if they clinched on a win.
Right.
Maybe it's obvious that they're celebrating that, which I don't think is that bad. But there was no result this way. You're not going to see it after a 6-2 loss. You didn't.
No, definitely not. No.
Just as well.
Maybe there was some celebrating before the game.
Maybe.
Could that be maybe why the game looked like the game? I don't know.
Can't admit to that.
I mean, holy cow, Washington, same team that rolled the Sabres over on Saturday night, just got annihilated by the Rangers last night. The Rangers
beat Detroit too this week. Someone else they're Wednesday.
Yeah, they beat the Rangers on Saturday. That's how the Sabres clinched. That was the
They
Rangers.
beat Detroit.
Detroit, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry,
that was the game.
Sorry. Yeah.
So,
yep.
No gimmies at this point. Let's go to Evan here. Hi, Evan.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Evan. Thanks for calling us.
No worries.
Okay, what's on
anything else?
your mind? Yeah.
I'm thinking about the UPL and Alex Lyon situation. We've split time with them all year, and I think it would be unwise to be like, my Hurricanes and do the switching between goalies in the postseason. I don't like that too much. I think that it's different with Carolina because they don't have a foundation really set for the last couple of years. And now with Anderson and Bussey, I think they're both coming in at below a 900. That's not wise. But I think you can't put the blame on Lyon for last night, letting in those 3 goals early. The defense broke down on at least 2 of them. I think it would be unwise to kind of throw Lyon to the curb and rely on UPL until the end of the playoffs.
Well, they're going to start with Luukkonen probably, unless there's a dramatic change between now and then. And it was always to be determined what would happen after that. I mean, I think it's believable. I don't even know if they had a plan yet. But if they go into the playoffs with Luukkonen and they win game 1, then he comes back in game 2. You play him until he loses, maybe. And there goes your routine. So I don't know what they were planning to do, if anything, at this point, because there was still a little bit too much time left. And now the question is moot because the last week has happened. And, well, I don't know if it's moot because they could still go back to that.
Yeah.
But I'm not expecting them to at this point.
No, not unless something goes really wrong. I think they made their decision. I don't know. The caller's talking like Lyon won't be a part of things. I mean, he's going to be the backup goalie. I assume anyway.
They'll do that.
I think
they'll play their second. They'll dress their second best goalie.
I think that's what you would want to do in case you need them. And so I would put it this way: if they win more than one, like if they win a series, I predict you haven't seen the last of Alex Lyon. Just because, maybe even in a first-round series. I think the only way you keep rolling with the one guy is if you just keep winning. And I'd say, like, as soon as you lose a game, I think you win 2, lose game 3, then you probably come back with the same guy. But if you split the first 2, then you might have a decision to make.
I'll tell you what, at some point on the weekend, Saturday, I think, when the Sabres were losing in the course of that game, the caller mentioned Carolina. I kind of thought, would it be the worst thing if they fell to 4th and then played Carolina in the first round? Then you're over in the other division. It would be. You're looking at me like this is ridiculous. You're in the other division now. Mm-hmm. If you beat Carolina, and then you're playing Philadelphia, maybe, or Pittsburgh, or the Islanders. That's better than what they would draw. Right now, that's Boston's edge.
You do stay over there. You
stay over there.
It would never come back to the Atlantic then.
Right. For 2 rounds. So I was rooting for Boston yesterday.
No. I was rooting for Philly.
In case I lose a couple more, then I think I'm going to want 4th over 3rd if it comes to that. Not you? I've said it for a long time. I think Montreal is more dangerous than Carolina.
I would rather play Montreal than Carolina. Myself. I would rather play Montreal than Carolina. I think Carolina. I realize like you only have the one, and it's not even that recent, right? It was Martin Luther King Day, so that's quite a while ago now. The Sabres looked great in that one game, but they've had a pretty tough time with that hockey team, especially in Carolina, right? They haven't won there in forever. Like that was a good job, good effort, close game. You got goalied, but it was still another L in that building against that team. I'm not. I don't think Carolina is a cup-winning caliber team. They have not been over the course of this like 3, 4, 5 year run that they've been on. But I still think they're a tough matchup for the Sabres. I think.
Interesting. You're invoking past and home road for this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I need to check that, but I feel like if they have one there recently, it's 1 out of 12.
I know, but
so,
respectfully, why does that matter? Like the Sabres have lost everywhere the last 3 years, against all the good. How have they done in Tampa? The last 3 years before this one, right? Like just it's usually going to look like losses. I don't know. Montreal has a vibe, and I mean their results are tremendous. They lost yesterday, but they've really been rolling. So like they weren't really in our conversations as a threat for the top until
they won 8 in a row
last week
before last night. Yeah. So that got them sort of in your hair.
All right. Well, let me ask you this then: what's the gap? And this is sort of built on a negative, right? They're going to play tonight. They'll be tied for first if they win the night. If they don't, and we're looking at probably either the Lightning or the Canadiens in the first round. A loss tonight would get you like that much closer to that reality. How much worse or how different is that than if they were to fall behind Boston ultimately? Like how big is the gap? Because I think the second round advantage is kind of important to this argument. If there really is one. Again, it's relative.
That is the most compelling. Carolina, I think I'd rather play a second-round series over there than in the Sabres division. I will admit to that. But Carolina, I have not really thought about them as a first-round opponent since the Sabres got to, even second place, let alone first place, which is where they were residing until this weekend. So I think Carolina would be like at the top of the list. As bad as I want to avoid Tampa, I would want to avoid Carolina.
More than Tampa?
No, it's comparable to me.
All right, top. That's the tier.
That's the tier. Okay. While it's pretty appealing, then to think about, if I win that, then I'm in with Pittsburgh or Philly or whoever
any of them
comes out of there, and that is way better than Tampa in a second round scenario. I agree, but really all I've done is switch the order of the hardest series I might have to play. And it would become, I think, the Carolina series to me. I guess I'm telling you, even though I don't think that they're as good as Tampa, they might be the second team on the list. And I'm sorry to be so standings-oriented. I know we like our reverse power rankings. But Carolina, to me, that would be an intimidating first-round matchup, I think.
I think that word is fair. What I don't know is if that were to happen, or even if it's Boston, like it's constructed now.
Mm-hmm.
And Boston has 96 points?
95.
95 points, and Pittsburgh might have 90 or 91?
Pittsburgh has 96. They had a good week.
Geez.
Yeah.
Well, the Sabres have 100. If the wild card team that goes to the other division wins and had more points in the regular season than their second-place team, who would get home ice?
The second-place team.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the seedings.
With fewer points.
I think the seedings take precedence.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't looked that up recently because I haven't cared about any of this stuff in 15 years, but I'd be surprised if it were any different. I think the 2 seed
I think I would too.
Remains a 2 seed.
I think I would
Or
guess
whatever.
that's right. I just don't know.
Right.
Because it could be the other. More points. You know? Are we going to lose the Lindy bet if Tampa wins the Atlantic?
I'd be real worried about it. Yeah. Just the way it sounded. I mean, I know Sam again, on Friday with Nate and myself, the odds, Lindy's the favorite on the betting market.
It's come down though.
Yeah. Yes, I think they need to win the division for us to win that bet.
It was coming down last week. I don't always understand that market. Or whether necessarily it's even trust the line movement.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because I'm not looking at my app since it's not there.
Right.
So I'm going to Polymarket or I'm going to, some other place I'm not as familiar and seeing movement. But I think we've said this all along. Enough broadcasters seem to want to stump for Cooper on a career achievement basis that, they vote, right? So if I'm trying to bet that market, that would matter to me. We already have. So
right.
I mean, I'm not looking to double down or anything, but yeah, I would think it's quite possible. Winner of this, we've said it. The winner of this division wins the Jack Adams.
Yep.
Even with the Lightning having the history that they've had, and
Yeah, I just think that pulls enough. I think it'll be close no matter what because of the way the broadcasters have sounded. But I think if the Sabres go from 14 years not in, last place in December, to first place, I think people who might be sort of, not dug in one way or the other come over to the Sabres. I think if you don't win the division, then I think the John Cooper Career Achievement Award gains a lot of momentum.
You can probably safely tear up your Patrick Waugh tickets at this point.
I don't think a fired coach wins Coach of the Year.
Has it ever
That's
happened?
right.
Has it ever happened? Protest vote. The Islanders, what a move.
4 games to go.
They have 4 games left, all at home, starting on Thursday. They're off, so the timing is not an accident.
Right.
They have a few days. It's like having the bye in football or something. They have a few days to acclimate. Pete DeBoer, of course, right? The GM said something like, well, once we knew he was available, there wasn't really any thinking to do. Well, must be nice to get an NHL coaching job once and just have, basically you're going to work for your whole life almost. Well, there are exceptions to that, as we know here.
If he's been to the finals twice. He's had a lot of success.
Just anyone?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. They have 4 games left, all at home, starting Thursday with the Leafs. Then it's Ottawa, Montreal, Carolina. That's the Islanders' remaining schedule, all home games. So another team right at the wire, whipping its horse, changing coaches. The GM also said he didn't think Waugh had lost the room. What did he lose then?
Yeah, his job.
Other than that,
right?
What did he actually do wrong?
That's pretty interesting. I saw a quote from Matthew Barzal of the Islanders today, sort of referencing how last week or whenever it was that Vegas made their move, sort of like laughing to himself, like, man, wow, that's crazy so late in the year. And then, bam. Okay, they did it with 8 games. You just did it with 4. Welcome to the big leagues.
Will this be the last coaching move of the year?
Right.
Look out, whoever loses tonight. You never know. Maybe
right, Lindy or Cooper.
Save the season.
Right.
Sal coming up at 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. This is WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
Welcome back. Hope you had a nice Easter, Passover, however you celebrate. Nice few days. I missed Thursday and Friday, so I'm sure, well, I'm guessing I missed extensive butter lamb analysis.
There really was no. All you missed was a recounting of the original butter lamb controversy on our show from
Butter Lamb Gate.
many years ago.
Yeah.
When you had never heard of butter lambs, and I couldn't believe it, and I was shouting, and we were in a bingo parlor, and a guy in a blue members only jacket wanted to fight me.
Yeah.
I got to tell that story.
Not because you know what butter lambs are, but because he thought you were too loud.
Right, because he couldn't hear the numbers.
He wasn't that mad about
No,
your
I don't think he really cared
knowledge.
about the content of the program.
I don't either.
He wasn't like,
That's the thing.
You should be talking about the Bills' offensive line or anything like that. It wasn't one of those deals.
Which maybe we were.
At least as far as I
Before
can
the
tell.
butter
Anyway,
lamb.
I don't know.
In those days, we might have done that.
Maybe.
I was in Toronto Saturday for my daughter's hockey game. That's at the Leafs practice facility.
Oh, I know it well.
I bet.
Yeah.
4 rinks.
Yeah.
One is the Scepters, one is the Leafs, one is the Marlies, and one might just be for dudes. I don't know.
Yep.
Like beer league stuff. But I was up there with my wife, and all of us went. And I'm in my seat with about 5 minutes to go before the game starts, and I see my son walking up the stairs to my right. And it turns out that my wife was with him, but she was out of my view. She was closer to the wall, so I only could see him. And I look at him, I recognize him, I notice him, and he's sort of looking at me, and he's kind of like laughing, but he has an interesting expression on his face, like something has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened was a woman, it's hard to describe this, like I'm basically where I was, on my level, top of the stairs, standing against a rail, had a cane, and she dropped it through the slits.
Okay.
And it hit my wife in the head.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So my son looked at me, and I didn't see it happen. I couldn't see her at all. I saw him,
Right.
and he wasn't laughing like he thought it was funny, but it was just like, this is really weird that this happened. And so hits her right in the head. They pick the cane up, return it to the lady. My wife said, no one apologized. And she has this welt on her head now from this.
Yeah.
So we have a new rival.
Stranger with a cane.
Just a lady who didn't apologize after whacking my wife in the head with her cane.
Yeah, I think welt or not, I think that warrants an
Welt or
apology.
no welt.
Yeah.
Welt, whatever.
The welt maybe makes it more obvious that you should apologize.
Listen, I don't need to see proof that it hit you if I saw the thing hit you. Like, I don't need to see an injury. I'm not an attorney here.
Right.
I just know that I dropped this thing and it hit you in the head.
Yeah.
And the least I could do was apologize to you.
Geez, I'm really sorry about that.
What reportedly was said was, that's mine.
Oh, wow.
Listen, you can have it.
Yeah. That's tough.
When I was in high school, one year was like I would always be doing the announcements for the football games at the PA. But on the road one year I did videotape. So I would go to the road games and set up as high as you could get and shoot the game. And we had a game at Ken West. And the case that I had emptied to set up the video equipment, it got super windy, and the case flew off basically above the press box, like off the top, and down into the people. And it landed on a guy, this camera case. And I just like panicked and went down there and like, oh no, are you okay? That just sort of blew off the roof. I'm sorry. I'm a high school kid. He probably thought, I'd maybe thrown it or something. I don't know. But just like that's what happened. And I just felt so bad.
Sure. Yeah.
I saw it hit him.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And he's like, I'm okay,
Yeah.
I think I probably put it inside after that, but
good move. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to say something.
You should. Yeah, I think an apology is warranted.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, that's a bad job.
Bad job.
Cane lady. Yeah.
Also, it was 25 degrees colder there than it was here on Saturday. I wore shorts.
I
It was
saw
65 here, and it was 40 in Toronto.
Yeah, I saw a reference to the weather being pretty tough in Toronto this weekend.
Get it right, Toronto. Come on. Try to keep up. 65. Sal next on WGR.
The Buffalo Sabres are in action tonight, and it will be their first home game since clinching a playoff berth over the weekend. Tonight, they're going to play host to Tampa Bay. Pregame at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop, and some lineup notes for tonight. For the Sabres, UPL is expected to get the start in net, and Tage Thompson is also expected to be in the lineup after missing morning skate today due to what Lindy Ruff later called a maintenance day. While on the Lightning side of things, Brandon Hagel will not play, according to head coach John Cooper. He has an undisclosed injury he's been dealing with for the last few weeks. And the Sabres Injury Report is brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Door. Is your garage door injured? Call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. There are then just 3 other games tonight, all starting after the Sabres. 7:30, the Jets host Seattle. At 10, Chicago's out west versus the Sharks. And then at 10:30, the Kings, they will play host to Nashville. In the NFL, the Ravens do begin their offseason program today due to having their new head coach in Jesse Minter. Every other team with a new head coach, including the Bills, will begin their programs today. We'll get more on that. Stay tuned. Coming up next, Sal Capaccio will join the show. And Giants All-Pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade out of New York. And then coming up later on tonight at 8:50, it is the national championship in men's basketball. UConn takes on Michigan in Indianapolis. Michigan looking for their first title since 1989, their second overall, while UConn is looking to win 3 of the last 4 national titles and their 7th overall as a program. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Can we have a Dexter Lawrence conversation? Could the Bills afford Dexter Lawrence? I think, you can probably afford anything somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants, they can't trade him like right now, right after the guy goes public with his wanting to be traded. Like, you have to have a little bit more self-respect.
Yeah, you have to all the while knowing inside you're lying. You need to say all the things about how he's such a valued member of the team, and we don't really intend on honoring his request. He's a New York Giant, and we anticipate him being a New York Giant for a long time. And you say that a couple different press appearances, and then sometime in June, trade him.
Or you could say it and mean it, and just
play
poker with them.
It's always possible that someone would be actually honest in a situation like this. I just kind of doubt it.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Sal, would you entertain this idea? What would it cost? Is it too lofty? Dexter Lawrence of the Giants.
He's a great player. Anytime you can add a great player, I'm interested in doing that. I don't know the appetite the Bills could have for, the type of compensation it would take. He's not even he's 28, 29 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he's going to be and he's a fantastic player. I was just looking at his Pro Football Reference page a little while ago, and Defensive Player of the Year, top 10 just a few years ago. Been a second-team All-Pro a couple of times. He's been stuck on a team that hasn't really been that good, obviously. Had that one playoff appearance a few years ago. It is interesting. He has played most of his career, if not all of it, in a 4-3, I read. I was trying to see, the system fit, but I don't care about that anymore. I just think we've talked about this. Systems are so fluid now. You move guys around. When you're great, you're great. You find a spot for a guy who's great. You don't have to be pigeonholed into that, so should the Bills be interested in making a phone call, or should they make a phone call? You got Brandon Beane and Joe Shane, right? they're good friends. They were both at I saw them both at the in Phoenix at the reception on Monday night for sure. Why not have that conversation? I just don't know if that would be something the Bills could afford, both in compensation and or in contractual value.
Okay, it's a 1+, right? Bulldog.
Oh, yeah.
Probably,
sure.
I don't know. Is there a player on my roster that I can swap out? Then that gets into dead money, and everything could get really jumbled up. But
who is that even, actually?
I don't know. I saw our friend, and Nate Geary was in for you Thursday and Friday, commented on a tweet suggesting Ed Oliver and a second-round pick in 2027. And I don't know if that doesn't seem – it might be light. But I immediately went, I think I would rather have Dexter Lawrence on my team than Ed Oliver. I like Ed Oliver just fine, but like that's a win for me, I think.
To me, this sounds like trading Rousseau for Myles Garrett.
Okay, right.
Where,
same concept.
You're sort of winning on both sides of it. Like you get a certain caliber of player's contract off your books.
Mm-hmm.
And Oliver's okay, just like Rousseau to me, sort of like,
why would
they're
they
starters.
do that, right? Maybe the Giants. Yeah.
Why would
on top of that,
right.
the Bills just reworked Ed Oliver's contract.
Okay, so forget that then, right?
Yeah, I mean, like that it's $11 million dead money to even trade him. I mean, like he's more valuable on your team than he would be than doing that. I think.
Interesting story.
I think they like Ed Oliver actually.
Yeah, of course.
I do too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
What's a fit?
I think Dexter Lawrence. I mean, that's a I'm going to say much better player.
Interesting timing for that. Not to stay on him for much longer, but like they bring in John Harbaugh. That's credibility. That's why you do that. And now he wants to be traded. Like, have his first interactions not been the best? Like, really, It's not a contract thing. That's not different. It's not like they've been winning and now they fired somebody. It's not like they fired McDermott. And you just want out because you don't believe in the new program. It's John Harbaugh. You'd think that would be a plus, but maybe not.
Well, you could look at it a couple ways here. I think that Harbaugh could draw a line in the sand, and maybe like Dexter Lawrence is gone. He wants a new contract. They're talking about John Harbaugh comes in and goes, "Hey, man, I'm running things like this. You're under contract for this, and we can work on that later. We're not doing this right now. Whatever." Or you could look at it as kind of the same way Myles Garrett. Remember, last year. Whenever that was, I mean, Myles Garrett basically wrote, he put out there and publicly, I'll basically never play for this team again, right? However he wrote it,
right?
And like, oh yeah, things just worked out in the end, and he's back. They gave him a new contract.
All right, so we have, I guess, Baltimore today with its new coach has started their offseason stuff, and the Bills will be doing so. My understanding is tomorrow. What can we look forward to?
So it's just conditioning. There are no actual football coaches on the field. There are only strength and conditioning coaches on the field. This is what they call phase one. We've gone over phases before, but phase one is just that's right. Phase one is 2 weeks of the off-season program, meetings, strength and conditioning, and rehab only for players who've been dealing with injuries. Unfortunately, we won't see, because there's no media access to who's out there and who isn't, other than what the Bills put out with those videos of arrivals and some B-roll, and they'll control that, right? And we'll know that a little bit. We do know that it was said that Josh Allen is expected to be there. We know he's a dad now. He's recovering from foot surgery, but from what Brandon Beane told us, that he's expected to be a part of the offseason program 100% and all of that. Because the Bills have not had a new head coach in a while, obviously, we're kind of living in a different world than we've lived in with this stuff. So just so everybody knows, the Bills and the Ravens, because they have a new head coach, obviously, for the first time and even longer, and 8 other teams can start and will start their offseason program this week. Teams with returning head coaches can't do that for 2 more weeks. So you get 2 extra weeks here. What you also get with these teams, and the Bills would do this, there is a voluntary veteran minicamp April 20th through 22nd for the Bills. That voluntary veteran minicamp will basically be, I think, the same kind of thing. I mean, you're going to be able to do some work on the field, like no hitting or anything, but they'll be able to throw footballs and things like that.
What do you think of sort of the how the scales tip when it comes to that? Is it interesting enough to really ponder to spend a minute on? Like, all right, you have a new coach. Here's what you get: 2 weeks of conditioning without really having any actual football coaching being allowed. Like, is that worthwhile enough to justify it? And it's voluntary, right? I mean, not everybody probably will be present.
I mean, I doubt we could go back and look if there's any empirical evidence on if it helps teams or not. Probably not. But one of the reasons would be that most teams, the new head coach stink, right? I mean, like they're changing head coaches because they're not that good. So how good can they be expected to be? The Bills and the Ravens here are changing head coaches this year. For example, teams who are good. They're getting an extra 2 weeks in with teams that are already pretty good. So maybe that changes. I think for me, more than anything, is if you have a brand new system, and the Bills do on defense. They don't on offense. They do on defense. I think that 2 weeks matters. It matters to get them a little bit more ramped up for when they get to May, when they get to more of their, on-field offseason work, which, by the way, the OTAs begin May 18th. So by the time you get there, if you can have an extra 2 weeks of just kind of installing your system, doing meetings, it is voluntary, but there's going to be players that, are getting introduced to this 2 weeks earlier than you would be if you have a new defensive coordinator, but not a new head coach, if that makes sense.
Well, the draft is coming 2 weeks from Thursday is round one. We've made it through free agency. I know we've talked it through from a few different angles, Sal, but now that we're more in draft season than free agent season. I mean, I know they can still sign guys, but feels like, they filled some holes over the course of the few weeks since free agency opened. It took them a little while, but they found their way to a couple of veteran safeties and a couple of veteran linemen for depth, or who knows, maybe even starting on the offensive line. Is there any spot that still you look at when you look at the depth chart that you're surprised they did not find their way to attacking really at all so far this offseason, recognizing that the draft is another opportunity to do so?
Let's go back to the first question here, right? Defensive line, defensive tackle specifically, defensive tackle, I should say. We were talking about Dexter Lawrence and Ed Oliver and that group. Like, I still think the defensive line, but specifically the defensive tackle area, has been something that, I thought that they would do a little bit more on, but they really haven't. So that's why I believe that that's probably a pretty, open window as far as, what they might be looking at in the, at the draft, excuse me. They went out. I would have thought defensive line would have been more pressing than offensive line. Even then Connor McGovern resigns, and then they go out and they even sign Austin Corbett. They sign Lloyd Cushenberry, right? But they have not really done anything on the defensive line. They've signed safeties, a couple of them, 3 of them actually. One of them's a returner, DeMar Hamlin. But they've done that. Backup quarterback, nickel corner. There has not been one defensive tackle, I think, in my calculations here, not one defensive tackle signed by the Buffalo Bills during free agency here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think of running backs and receivers more for this, how Bean would normally just give himself insurance policies, guys that are fringe, in case they can't get what they might want to get out of the draft. And that would be this too. But it hasn't happened yet, like you're saying. What do you think?
And I'll say, Mike, real quick, they have 7 on the roster, 7 defensive tackles. Now, we can debate like where guys fit, right? Like, because when I say defensive tackles, right, if you're thinking 3-4 and you want to call Ed Oliver and whatever, I understand that. But let's just say the defensive tackles in my mind are Ed Oliver, Deion Walker, T.J. Sanders, Dwayne Carter, Fedarian Mathis, Tommy Akinsabasode, and Zion Logue. So you have 7 of them on the roster. I just, you're going to go to camp with probably 10 to 12. And I just feel like they probably, by this time, usually would have added a guy or 2.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a macro view of this draft? Bulldog and I were talking earlier, and, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the fact that we have the Sabres excitement this year, unlike in recent years, has cut into our time spent on the draft. But I think it's maybe a good year for that. Just not even from a Bills standpoint. And the Bills are drafting around where they always do in this era. But just like not having the quarterbacks, I don't know, how much sex appeal is there, even after Mendoza, but include him if you want to. I don't know. It just kind of feels flat to me.
I loved your discussion. I heard it at the beginning of the show. And I think I've been there for a little while, Mike, with you, where it does not seem like a really great draft. I think one of the reasons might be, and I don't know, I haven't done the work on like all of the guys. Who is it? Is it Dante Moore, right? The quarterback at Oregon, right? Who went back to Oregon. Mm-hmm. He had a chance to come out, and because of NIL and keeping guys in school, we might be seeing more of this lately, going forward, which is, remember when we had like, oh my God, all these underclassmen are declaring it's making the draft great. We might be going the other way now, which is there's guys that can come out, but they're not coming out. So like, let's just say he would have. You're probably looking at him as the number 2 pick. He's going to the Jets. The Jets, think about them for a second. The Jets need a quarterback. Geno's their quarterback. They get him. What if Moore comes out? Mendoza goes 1, Moore probably goes 2. It totally changes the entire complexion of the draft and of the first round, right? And I just think like we might be seeing that. But I think overall, and I don't know how many guys this would go for. There's probably some other guys out there people can name. Oh, that guy went back to school. He could have come out. He didn't. He's going to get paid to stay, whatever. But I agree with you. Like when I look at even the top of this draft, I'm like, well, if that guy was in a draft last year, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, where would he be going? Even Mendoza. I like Mendoza. I think Mendoza can be a really good NFL quarterback. I question the environment he's going to go to. I question the development from, that particular organization, how they're going to treat him. But I think Mendoza has a chance to be a really good quarterback. That said, I still don't know where he would fall if he was in like most of these other quarterback drafts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. With that in mind, it's funny you mentioned Moore, and that can be because, I think you're right asserting that he would be the second pick. So his going back, I can get paid. It's not so much to establish more value. In fact, maybe the potential downside is he hurts himself by going back. Right. That's happened to guys over the years. But this gives you an opportunity to get paid and pass on the Jets, basically, is what he really is doing, right? I mean, I don't know what all his motivations are, but from, 3,000 miles away, if the guy was going to be the second pick in the draft, it's hard to do much better than that. So, and maybe he just wants to win in college. I don't know. But to me, it just says, I don't want to go to the Jets.
It might even have set up for a passable, respectable enough conversation about 1 versus 2. Whereas Ty Simpson doesn't seem to be pulling that off. But,
no. And Bulldog, you're right. Like, he would have made way more money as a draft pick. There's no doubt.
Right.
But I think we're not living, though, in this space of he's still making way more than college kids ever did.
Right.
I'm reading right now, and I didn't know this. I just pulled this up. His NIL portfolio includes deals with Nike, Beats by Dre, and Panini America. He is the highest valued NIL earner on Oregon, but still way less than he would make if he made an NFL contract. But at least that's serviceable, and you're like, hey, I feel like I'm getting, something out of this. And, oh, by the way, I'm not going to the New York Jets, right? So it's probably a bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, I get the math here. He can spurn the Jets, play another season at Oregon, make some money, and go into next year's draft and play for the Jets.
That's right. Yes. That's right. Yes.
Very possible. Can he keep going back to school forever until it's not the Jets?
Yeah, the Jets are leaning against the wall outside of school, going like, "We're gonna be here all day, bro."
Who's gonna be worse this year, the Dolphins or the Jets?
The Dolphins have, at last I looked, a slightly lower win total. I always talk myself into the Jets being like competitive. Or good. I'm not sure I'll get to good this year. But, I mean, Geno at least is some efforts to stabilize and, like, have a season. So that's good. I mean, they could have done worse.
Yeah.
And at least they made that effort. Breece Hall could be great, depending on scheme and offensive line. Their offensive line played together. I think I saw more than any other.
He's already doing it, so.
I'm already doing it. Last year, I can't help myself.
You cannot be helped.
Garrett Wilson, and then, a draft pick. I don't know.
Now,
I think they could be okay.
Taylor kid at tight end.
Mason Taylor. I can't make this argument for Miami right now.
I agree with you. I mean, and the Jets did some work on defense. Now, I don't think Minka is nearly the same player, obviously, but Minka Fitzpatrick, Demario Davis comes back, right? I mean, like, they did some things on defense. They traded for Tavondre Sweat. Remember that? The defensive tackle. That they did that. So I think that, and they have, I think, a really fiery head coach, right? That's going to be competitive and rah win everything. Whereas maybe the Dolphins are in this mode of, hey, we understand where we are right now. We know who we are, and their head coach, and he may, not that he doesn't want to win, but I think they have more of a realistic view of who they are. So I'm not sure, where they go. And I don't know. I think both teams are probably going to be obviously in the back of the AFC East. But when I look at the Dolphins, I think about a team that might simply just be saying, hey, we understand there's a reset year, where the Jets aren't thinking like that.
But then you throw the Malik Willis move into all that, and I'm still not sure I really get it from Miami's standpoint. Because everything else they've done looks like, let's go hang out and win as few games as we can, but also let's go trade for a quarterback and pay him, or sign a quarterback and pay him, $25 million, which is, I know, not like crazy money for a quarterback, but it just doesn't add up with everything else they've done, I think.
Sal,
I don't know if did we talk? I don't know if we talked after this, but I don't know if you guys know. I stuck around for Goodell's press conference. I always love to be a part of that. And I asked him about tanking. And I said, the NBA and the NHL have talked about this. The NBA is making some changes because of this. And like, does that come across your desk? Do you guys talk about it in the competition committee? his answer was, "We don't have a tanking problem. Like no one does that in this league. Like with it, we're super competitive." And there were some responses. It was really funny because I was kind of proud that I asked the question, because then there were people debating like, "Well, I don't know about that." You know what I mean? It was really interesting.
What's happened, I want to say this is right, because I'm sure I can think of a couple of examples where teams late in the season, tanking can maybe be a little bit of a sliding scale. Like what Miami is doing right now could smell like that, but ultimately, end of the season, maybe you're playing another team bad like you are, and, I mean, do you sit your starters? Do you do what Tim Murray did and trade your goalie when he wins a game? Like, just that's more obvious. But, like, the Giants beat the Colts a couple of years ago and cost themselves a higher pick. New England, Buffalo, when Joe Milton played. Texans,
did
Colts.
That thing with the Colts, right? Yep.
And they lost out on, well, they eventually picked Stroud anyway, but the first pick went elsewhere. Chicago, in that case. So, I don't know. I feel like it sort of looks different. It might not be, tanking might not be the word for it quite the same as it is in basketball or hockey. But, you have these teams late in the year where they've kind of blown it by winning a meaningless game.
Did you mention New England and the Bills?
I did.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah, like, I don't know if they were tanking, like intentionally bad, but it's funny if they were, because then they get to that game and they have the first pick and they won.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's always that one enemy of tanking, the players on your team.
Maybe that is what Goodell has in mind when he answers so definitively when you ask that question, Sal.
Maybe.
It's like, look at these examples of teams that looked like they were doing that. Everyone was talking about them doing that. But in the end, they did not crash the plane into the side of the mountain. They pulled up and landed safely.
Sal, last thing. Who would be your third pair tonight?
Kesselring and Metza.
Yeah, the two guys that aren't expected to play.
Right. I mean, I want to win a hockey game. You know what I mean? Like, I think you proved a point. You've proved some points here over the last few weeks. And you're getting to the point now. You lost a couple in a row here. Go win a hockey game. And I know it's exciting or whatever, and you want to show Tampa you can't back down. And, Stanley was up in the press box and all that kind of stuff. But, Kesselring, I don't know what happened to that guy who's supposed to be the reason you made the trade with JJ. And then, Doan winds up being more of the reason now.
Yeah.
But I don't know what happened with that guy. You need to get him right in some way and, put Metza on the ice for sure.
I think, man, I love that you have such a strong take ready to go on that, because my overriding thought about tonight is that I'm a little uneasy that I think Tampa has pushed the Sabres to not dress their best. Because I think, but the flip side of that is, if you're rough and the team and you've got guys that are really more proficient in that area, if you will, and you don't dress them and it turns into that kind of game, I think you might feel like you really let everybody down by not doing it. So
this is why you made the moves.
Right. But it's tough. I mean, a big part of me today was thinking, yeah, exactly like you just said, Sal, go win the game. You didn't need Stanley the last time, and you stood up fine for yourselves. I know Hagel got loose on Dahlin, but I don't know if Stanley being on the ice changes that. This idea of deterrence is always nonsense to me. Guys are going to goon it up if they want to goon it up. And
Hagel's not even playing tonight.
Right. So, I don't know. I'm a little – I feel like Tampa, to an extent, already won something by them rolling into town and the Sabres feeling like, okay, at least they didn't call up Geertsen from Rochester, because that would have been really, I think, embarrassing.
Okay. You're going tonight, right?
Yep, I'll be there.
Have fun.
Good deal, Sal. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Have fun. Thanks for this today. That is Sal Capaccio on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
I gave my tickets up.
Oh, you had tonight, and you gave them up? All right.
To my wife and daughter.
Oh, well, that's...
I just wanted it to sound. I wanted it to sound a certain way.
Yeah.
I gave them up to my wife and daughter. Yes.
Well, lovely for them.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I am fine, I think, with the lineup, because I'm still not to the playoffs. I do not want, and I've said this the whole time since these trades, I do not want the Sabres to miss the mark with their lineup in the playoffs, because the playoffs have to be a certain brand of hockey. I think that would end up looking really bad on them. if like Stanley can't hack it. If Stanley can't hack it, he comes out for the playoff. He just has to. And so far, I'm there. Like he has not won me over at all the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But for this game, this is why you did it. And this is not Game 7 or even Game 1.
Right.
803-0550 for your thoughts. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after the update here on WGR.
Sabres pregame in just about an hour and a half as the Sabres are back home for the first time since clinching a playoff berth over the weekend, and they will play host to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, pregame is at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. Some lineup notes for the Sabres tonight. UPL expected to get the start in net, and Tage Thompson, even after missing morning skate today due to what was later called a maintenance day by head coach Lindy Ruff, is expected to be in the lineup tonight. While for the Lightning, Brendan Hagel will not play, according to head coach John Cooper. And the Sabres injury report, it is brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Door. Is your garage door injured? Call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. We have offseason programs starting today in the NFL. Actually, just one. It is the Baltimore Ravens. They and their new head coach, Jesse Minter, get the offseason underway. Every other team with a new head coach, including the Bills, will begin their programs tomorrow. And Giants All-Pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade out of New York. And then tonight, the national championship in men's basketball. UConn taking on Michigan at 8:50 in Indianapolis. Michigan looking for their first title since 1989, their second overall as a program, while UConn is looking to win 3 of the last 4 national titles and 7th overall as a program. And then North Carolina, they are reportedly hiring former Nuggets head coach Mike Malone to fill their head coach vacancy. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Yeah, it's something that we've worked hard for a long time. To be able to get into the postseason felt good, but yeah, tonight kind of took away from that feeling. Obviously, we're in a spot where, we're in, but we build our game and continue to get better and find our stride going into playoffs. And, last 2 games, that wasn't it.
Tage Thompson, 78 points in his 77 games. He's played them all. As have McLeod, Quinn. How about Quinn playing them all after the career he's had? Pretty good.
Good for him. Yeah.
Good season. Got a chance to score 20. It's 18 goals. Doan has played them all. Byram and Krebs. Malenstein missed 1. So did Power. Wonder what team has the most players that have played in every game. Seems pretty good if your guys can make it through the entire season and not miss a game, which we're not there yet. But Sabres have 6 players, 8, including players who've missed 1 game, and that's, again, Power and Malenstein. So what is the play tonight? Do I have to make it about revenge? I won the game, I held up physically, and the guy that I might want to put a target on isn't there. Do I need to do anything about it? Can I let it come to me?
I kind of think that's what you should do. Yeah, I mean, I think Hagel not being there changes it a lot, because I think I would have had a hard time saying don't put all your beef in the lineup because I think I would have expected my hockey team. I think I would have wanted my hockey team to make it about making sure you get him. And I don't even know that I would have needed it to be like, because often this is how this goes. Like, he knows what he did against Dahlin the last time, and he may tell you privately, I doubt he would tell you publicly, that it was warranted because of something Dahlin did to him. I don't know, whatever, right? He said, she said, or he said in this case. Drop him on the opening. Pick a guy. Who's it going to be that makes sense, right? Logan Stanley is not fighting Brandon Hagel. At least if I'm Tampa, like, that's ridiculous. I mean, Hagel's a tough customer, can handle himself, but he is not a fighter. I mean, he fought one of the Kachuk brothers at the Four Nations thing, and he's fought, but he's not a big guy, not a big fighter guy. So you need, like, the right guy in your lineup, like Malenstein may be right. And they fight out the opening draw, and then we have a hockey game. If he's playing, you could do that. You could also not do anything until you get a chance to really get him and go that route. And, there's something to be said for that. But without him there, I don't know what I'm doing exactly. Am I going to go try to get Kucherov? Because he's dirty too. I mean, he didn't punch Dahlin in the back of the head, but he's He's a nasty piece of business for a superstar player.
What happened at the end of that game? Didn't he slash somebody?
Yeah, he was right in a thing at the end of it. So, if you want to do that, I mean, it's there for you, but I don't really need it.
Boy, if something like that happens, where it looks like it's an intentional run at him, then it's really going to be escalated.
Yeah.
I mean, now you're dealing with whatever. Now you're going to have coaches screaming at each other.
Yeah, but to be fair, what Hagel did to Dahlin was that already. And nothing has happened to Hagel about it. I mean, the game was mayhem, really the whole way. But I don't think the Sabres – I think it would be right for them to not feel as though they've gotten – their pound of flesh there, that they've evened the score, that they settled, that somebody stood up for Dahlin getting, handled that way. And so, Kucherov is to the line. I mean, it's a tough, any team, there's like 3 teams in the league that have a guy that's as good as Kucherov. All right. But like Dahlin's our best guy, or one of them. It's the same as if Thompson had been abused like that. You'd want retribution. So maybe you just go looking for the next best idea, and I think Kucherov would be very much so at the top of the list, and not only because he's the star and you feel you're owed a pound of flesh, but he also has enough of a temper that if you get him just right, he might do something stupid and get himself thrown out of the game because he's got a bad temper.
Boy, for that guy to get thrown out, it would have to be something.
To really do something, I know, right? So, I don't know. Like I feel like I'm all over the road here because I said earlier when we were talking to Sal, I do sort of feel like Tampa already got one over on us because we're loading up we're doing everything we can short of calling the big tough guy who can't play up from the minors. So I almost wish they would treat it more like we're trying to go win the hockey game. And not so worried about the physical stuff, although maybe they feel like they need to handle the physical stuff in order to win the hockey game. But I don't know. My thought is it's up to the Sabres to initiate the physical stuff. They're the team that was wronged, I think, objectively speaking, because of Hagel on Dahlin. And if you want to just come out and play, maybe Tampa agrees and you just have a game. But if the Sabres want to make it into something, then you're probably going to have something.
I think there's another facet to this, which is that getting Stanley and Schenn in the first place was a specific, as it would be, with a specific agenda in mind. Whether or not it is specific to the Lightning, I think it has to be. But they wanted to get bigger in the back, and they did, and it's still in progress. It really was about the playoffs, not making it, because they were already in great position to make it. Or it could be about first place. But really, it's somewhat of an experiment, and it's still going. And it hasn't always looked good so far. I would say, for the most part, it looks like a failure. I mean, Schenn doesn't play. He played a couple and he's going to play tonight. Mm-hmm. But, they're not forcing him on us, if you will. Stanley has played them all, I think. From a certain point.
Yeah, after
that game.
Once he got the visa thing straightened out, yeah.
And it hasn't happened yet that they look like a better team for it. That hasn't manifested, I would say. I think most would agree with that. But again, it's really more about the playoffs than it is these last 15 games or whatever it is. So I want to sort of hold on to, you're still trying to figure out what you want to be. And it's not just that you are thinking about whether there's going to be another, blast off tonight with Tampa Bay in town, but again, just more the big picture. I think what they want, I think their best case scenario isn't Schenn, I think, of course, but it's that Stanley gives them the thing, that he's good enough. That's the question, right? Is he good enough?
I don't need, let me be clear here. Schenn is really the thing that the Sabres are doing. And I guess Dunn too, but Dunn has had his moments this year, and he can play, and he doesn't hurt them, and he's a tough dude. So I'm good there. Schenn is really the one that, to me, because Stanley, I don't need Stanley to come out of the lineup. I recognize he's not playing well, but what am I trying to do here? Like you're saying, they got him with a role in mind, and it has not gone smoothly at all so far with a variety of partners. I think the worst it's been is when he's been with Schenn, and that's who you're going to get tonight. But Stanley, you should be still trying to make that work. Like, you wanted him for the harder game in the playoffs, on the walls and behind the net and in front of the net, and all the things that are cliches about having a big, long reach, meanish defenseman, 6'7". You want a physical presence there for the playoffs, and it hasn't really gone well yet. You still want to try to see that through and get it on the rails so that it is something that isn't hurting you by the time the playoffs begin. Schenn is the piece in the lineup. And again, I get it. Mensah did not have a good night Saturday, but that doesn't mean it had one bad game. And he's on the bench for a guy that I know is not going to help them. I mean, Schenn is not going to help them. If they just survive his shifts and their shifts, that'll be a win. And I think that might be asking for a lot against this team.
Here's Craig with us. Hi, Craig.
Hey, guys. I think, Schopp, you're right on point. This is more playoffs. It's about getting the lineup kind of figured out. And in spot service, Schenn and Stanley have a very potentially decent role as long as they're not taking other guys' spots up. Schenn does have a lot of playoff experience. He's been to a cup. I think that matters for this is a much younger team to have a little bit of that to lean on. Would I still put both of them in? No, but they're still tinkering. You know, the goal is the playoffs, and you have to be willing to tinker now because when the time comes, it's more physical. There's less penalties. There's less space. You need to be able to really earn that. And I think there's something to be said to some extent about having those guys in for that.
Very good. Thanks, Craig. Here's Brian with us. Hi, Brian.
Hey, guys. So 2 points that I would have for tonight is, man, I got to start worrying a little bit about Östlund, I think. I mean, this was supposed to be a day-to-day injury, and now this is going to be the sixth game he misses tonight, and that's really screwing up two lines, obviously, because he would play in the top nine, and somebody would drop down and get guys like Greenway and Dunn and Kozak, just guys that aren't quite ready to contribute anymore. Like, they would just not be in the lineup. And then, like, the big four, man, that are kind of missing these veteran presences from our team. Like, right now, man, we are just not getting anything. It's been well documented, obviously, on McLeod, but also, like, Norris, Tuck, and Zucker have been pretty quiet here the last 2 weeks. You know, with all this end of the roster kind of playing tonight, Schenn, Greenway, guys like that, Dunn. Man, those top 4 or 5, they've got to have a huge night. And I think that's where we've slowed down, obviously, since Östlund is like, you just notice they're just not as fast.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point on Östlund. And I don't know, I guess I you know, we knew he wasn't going on the trip. Nobody said he'd be back when they got home, but it's a little jarring that he's not there yet. I mean, they've got time, and I understand I don't want to rush anything, but I guess I agree with you. They miss him. I think he really helps that Norris line work, and it's clear Lindy trusts him anywhere on the ice in any situation, late in a game, protecting a lead, whatever. He's become a very important player for them, and I think they miss him. Though I don't know, like all the guys you mentioned aren't the same to me. Like idealized lineup, I mean, no Carrick, that hurts. I got room for Greenway to play on my fourth line in the playoffs all day long. He's not someone I need to squeeze out if Östlund, is healthy. I think I'm going to want to try to find a way to make that work. But I know it's going to get crowded eventually when everybody's healthy. But I think they miss Östlund for sure. That's why, Lindy tried to jumble the lines up. Obviously, that didn't work. So we'll see what we get tonight.
Greenway, 2 nicknames. HockeyReference.com.
Greeny.
Greener.
Bad job by me.
Really? I mean, it could have gone either way.
There's so many guys that you can only have the Y with that if you have a guy that doesn't need the Y, you do it. And Greener was gettable.
Plus Greenway already has a Y.
Right.
So
right.
we're going to
It's
change
not really that
We
different.
don't need another Y.
Right. So Greener was
Y for a Y.
I should have thought it through. Greener was there for the taking.
Other one's tougher. You got to know it to know it.
I'll bet. Yeah. The Lumberjack.
Not a bad guess. Big Rig.
Okay. The Big Rig. That's Pat Maroon.
Pat Maroon was Big Rig?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This guy's 6'6".
Yeah.
Was he 6'6"?
He's big. I don't know about 6'6".
Pat Maroon.
Pat Maroon.
Like super high draft pick? Pat Maroon?
No, you're looking at Pat Falloon. Pat Falloon was the second pick in a draft in Buffalo. And he had weight problems then, and he was nicknamed, I don't know if this will be at Hockey Reference, but Balloon Falloon.
Oh, no.
So no.
In case the guy's down about that, I did win an NHL 94 Cup with him.
Pat Maroon was on he had a run. He was St. Louis's Cup and then Tampa's Cup. Or Cups. Like he had a run where he was on the Cup winning team maybe 3 years in a row. If I have that right, if it's 19, 20, and 21. Anyway, he's retired now. But Big Rig was his nickname.
You know a lot. I think I'm thinking of someone else still.
Yeah.
Not Falloon. I wouldn't have made that mistake.
No, right. That's a generation ago.
There's somebody else
Yeah.
in there, in between, maybe. I'll maybe bother to try to find out.
He's
Can't promise.
I don't know where I saw he's on TV somewhere. I saw him talking hockey somewhere.
He's the new host of Wheel of Fortune.
Maroon. Oh, I don't think that was
It went Ryan Seacrest, now it's Pat Maroon.
The Big Rig.
Asking people if they want to buy vowels.
There's probably been like 20 Big Rigs.
You think?
It's a good nickname.
Big Rig.
Yeah.
Greenway. Okay, 803-0550. Thanks for listening. Pregame for Sabres Lightning at 6 here on WGR.
Folks, Bulldog here for Window Nation. They've not been in good form. And I don't know that I'm right about this sort of, little mental, physical break that maybe they're taking here.
I don't think Thompson ever knows what to say. Just get me out of this press conference. Get me out of here. What have these guys have been? He's been around long enough to know what gets you in trouble and what not to say. That's the same thing. So let's just say, something around that these games are not as important as they could be.
That's really what I think he didn't say that.
I don't want to hear that tonight.
No.
But I would get it if it were true. Not that they won't be amped for this game, but I don't want the Sabres to make the mistake of not panicking, but just sort of putting everything in to these next 6 games, five games, right? Tampa has 6 left. Buffalo has 5 games left. Just try to remember what's at stake. And really, it's not that much that's at stake. First place would be great. You might get Boston if you can win the race against Tampa and Montreal. Mm-hmm. Okay. You've been saying you'd rather the Sabres play Montreal than Boston. Is that no longer true? You think Montreal will be a relatively good spot for them?
I don't think I ever said I would rather play Montreal than Boston, but I'm not scared of Montreal. I think Boston's the easier mark of the 2 teams.
Okay.
And I think I have felt that way the whole time.
Okay.
But I'm not positive. But Montreal can be scary, but I'm not scared of them, if that's allowed, if that makes sense. Like, I think their high end is really, really good. But I think, the way the Sabres play, I think it's a good matchup for them. Boston's a different kind of thing to me, but I don't think they're as good at all. So.
Okay. Sorry. I think, though, that's still pretty tough. It's not. It hasn't changed. The Bruins and the Canadiens, like, some other teams have kind of gone away from the conversation. They're not as much likely candidates anymore, teams like Detroit. But it's still so even, I mean, by points at least, if not by quality, that's some measure of it, that I wouldn't want – I guess it's maybe more mental than anything else, where guys are starting to get scared of where this is going. Remember the 06 story. Not that players on this team would even know it necessarily, but that team lost 8 out of 9 lead.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, I'm sure there were lots of people telling you how bad a sign that was. I mean, I got friends doing that already. And how did they do? I mean, it's the closest they've come to a cup in forever. Right. So I just wouldn't want the mental, that mental piece to come into play. And that's where Lindy comes in, and I want to think, that he would have a similar perspective on it for whatever that means in terms of communicating with players. And I still think it's right also in terms of the lineup, where we were 2 weeks ago after the deadline. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, welcome back. Highly anticipated game tonight, Sabres and Lightning pregame. Paul Hamilton at 6, Jordan Greenway, Logan Stanley on the pregame show. Luke Shen expected to go in for Zach Metza. Josh Dunn in the lineup. Luukkonen expected to start. We'll have much more to say about it next hour. Who's in Toronto tonight? The Dodgers. Ooh. They dare to come back. They dare to go back to Toronto after that nonsense last season of the World Series. Meaning winning.
Nonsense.
Somehow winning.
Winning one of the most dramatic game 6s and 7s of all time, maybe.
Game 7. I'll never forget it. Yeah. I'll never forget it. I went to game 2. Probably never forget that either, although it was like 5-1. But wow. So that's right now. Dodgers at Blue Jays for 3. Jays just got swept by Sam Panayotovich's White Sox. A scuffling start to their season, Toronto. Not hitting. And they lost their catcher. Broken thumb.
Oh, geez.
With thumb surgery. Probably a broken thumb. I mean, could be.
Well, they're off to a not great start, but they're not worse than Boston.
Boston is worse. Last place.
2-7.
Chance of sell the team.
Yeah.
At Fenway.
Good times.
In a sweep to the Padres.
I'm so glad to be back.
How about the Joe Adell game? Incredible. That wouldn't even be possible. Is amazing. And he got them all that. And 1-0.
In a 1-0 game, no
awesome.
less, right? Yeah,
so
that was
good.
Really a highlight of the weekend.
Back to the Sabres next here on WGR. to want to find out what works and what doesn't. And they did the dance with Metza, sending him down. He comes back up. We're not talking anymore about how few goals he's been on for, right? I mean, that's kind of over. He is what he is. Not that that's bad, but just like we don't need to go crazy about how important he is necessarily. And so even tonight with Schenn, okay, I mean, just on a certain level, it makes sense why they'd want to be as big as they can be for this game.
Done too tonight.
Sure, okay, so do it. But I choose not to get freaked out about 2 losses, on the road, or 5 out of 7, whatever framework you want. Because I think the whole point, that's the privilege of clinching or of being at the 99% spot that they were beforehand, is that you can be flexible and try things, and maybe even if I'm not trying too hard by this, maybe even the adversity is good, that you don't go in with such big heads.
And I think if you subscribe to that from out here, I guess my point would be I think it's hard to keep that away from the players. Like, I think they know where they are and they know what it takes. And, the risk is that you lose it and you never get it back or something, but I don't happen to believe that. So I think my instinct is that they'll be fine. But again, I don't know. The lines are always so fine. It's always so tight that it can be hard to tell. One thought I did have, I don't know what to expect tonight. We've been in these situations before, not with the standings. It's been a long time since we've had the stand, but here they're nasty game the time before, cheap shots, retribution. All right, what happens next? And often enough, that game doesn't rise to the level. Not that anything, I wouldn't expect something to rise to the level of that 8-7 game from last month. But even close, like it's not a physical game at all. Nothing happens in that department. And
Sabres are in action tonight and are at home for the first time since clinching a playoff berth over the weekend. They will play host to Tampa Bay. Pregame in just about an hour at 6, a 7 p.m. puck drop tonight. There are some lineup notes for the Sabres. UPL expected to get the start in net, and Tage Thompson also expected to play this evening after missing a morning skate. Lindy Ruff later said it was due to having a maintenance day. For the Lightning, Brandon Hagel will not play, according to head coach John Cooper, due to an undisclosed injury. And the Sabres injury report is brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Door. Is your garage door injured? Call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. 3 other games across the league tonight, all of which start after Sabres Lightning. 7:30, the Jets host Seattle. At 10, Chicago, they are out west to take on the Sharks. And then at 10:30, the Kings, they host Nashville. To the NFL, the Ravens began their offseason program today. They do have a new head coach in Jesse Minter. Every other team with a new head coach, including the Bills, will begin their programs tomorrow, and one of those teams will be without an all-pro defensive tackle, as Giants' Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade out of New York. And then also going on tonight, the national championship in men's basketball. UConn takes on Michigan at 8:50. Michigan looking for their first title since 1989. It would be their second overall if they could get it done, while UConn is looking to win 3 of the last 4 and 7th overall as a program. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp.
You might be mocking me or you might be staunchly agreeing with me. I can't tell.
I'm mocking you.
And the Bulldog.
What is Fozzie Bear's role in this production?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Giving up on finding who I confused for Pat Maroon. Big rig, though. It is on his page. Played in the league last year.
All right.
For Chicago.
All right. Yep.
Because I wouldn't want to admit that it was Patrick Stefan that I was maybe thinking of. No, that's way too long ago.
That's really not.
That wouldn't be a good look.
That's not a big rig.
Well, that too.
Type player. I don't think either.
I don't think I was looking for a big rig. I tried to just place this guy.
Oh, just a name. What name?
A high draft pick.
Yeah.
And Pat Maroon was not a high draft pick. He was picked in the 6th round by the Flyers in 2007. So I think we've covered it. Do you?
I feel comfortable with the amount of information and content that has been Pat Maroon adjacent so far today.
Too much for one day. Too much Maroon. George is with us. Hello, George.
Hey, afternoon, guys. Mike, a quick aside. I just remembered how much I enjoyed that sports card show you had years ago. So if you ever find a way to dust that off, that'd be awesome. It's considering the market nowadays.
Thank you.
Anyways, I'm sure it doesn't align, but I think it does a little bit. Is as soon as that trade deadline, and I'm not blaming both those defensemen, of course, but transition, I think, was the key to that team at that point, and I just don't necessarily see that transition anymore. And I believe both of the defensemen, no offense to them, but they're both traffic cones in my opinion. They don't. Position and transition are keys to playoff, and I don't see either one of those two displaying that at all. I look at them as two players that would be taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. Assuming Schenn is in the lineup, which I don't think.
You're assuming a lot. I think he's in the lineup for this game because of his reputation and even a familiarity with the Lightning. He won the Cups he won with the Lightning. So I think it's just style, and here's a chance to get him a game, and it might suit his skill set, i.e. we think it might be a brawl. So
I do agree.
That's it. He's not playing. If he's playing in the playoffs for you, you've got 2 guys hurt.
Yeah, that's right. No, I totally agree. But I also and I do think tonight. I think Tampa's going to want their pound of flesh tonight from the last game, and I think it's going to be. I think they're going to try everything in their power to. I'm not saying they're going to go out and hurt people, but I think they're not going to let up on their checks, and I do also think that they're probably going to really turn it up tonight. So I think the Sabres have to be ready. And
if you're right about that, George, then all the more reason that Schenn should be in the lineup and done, and the Sabres are going to be as ready for it as they can be. If you're correct, I
guess we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, they have done this. I mentioned this when the game happened initially, that the Sabres ahead of time, I think, and afterwards certainly they confirmed that they were sort of expecting Tampa to try them out in that way. And I mentioned how Tampa has done that with Florida. They were they were going to the finals and winning back-to-back cups, and here comes Florida, and Tampa and Florida have had numerous games in regular seasons over multiple seasons that have been like that Buffalo. They don't end up 8-7, but there's 150 minutes in penalties, and it's everybody's going at everybody and all that. So it's not like Tampa gets tired of trying it after they do it once. They'll do it again. So you could be right. I mean, I think really the way the ledger is kept, the Sabres, I think, because of what Hagel did with Dahlin, are the team that should be feeling, if anybody is feeling like, I need justice, I think it's the Sabres. Tampa lost the game, but they didn't get taken advantage of. They tried to bully the Sabres, and the Sabres answered the bell. They didn't win all the fights or anything, but they answered the bell well enough, capably enough, that I think they earned some respect. So I don't know if Tampa, unless they just want to do it all again just because they think that's their edge, then maybe they will. But to me, Buffalo is the team that I think the impetus is on if it's going to get silly tonight.
I mean, if you have both teams convincing themselves that they're owed something from the last meeting, look out.
Right. Right.
Then it will look like that
again,
game.
All the more reason to dress the lineup they're dressing.
I guess. I have been nervous the whole time. Thank you, George, and also for the comments about the hobby. I want to say something about that a little bit later.
Nothing about kickstands up.
Well, maybe he didn't know about it.
Yeah. Very few people
What's the crossover between card collecting and motorcycle as hobbies?
Please,
What's the Venn diagram on that? How many people are in the middle in both circles? Not that many?
Probably not that many. What are you going to say? I'm sorry. I
don't
cut
know.
you off jerking around here. If both teams are owed something, look out. No,
Well,
that's where you left.
Yeah. Okay. I have been, like the caller, I have been dubious the whole time about Stanley. We can leave Shen out of it. If this is a one-off because it's Tampa and what happened before, okay. And I think that that's probably the case. Stanley was a change of direction in their lineup. You can't just have a guy, and he's not like a fighter anyway, right? He's big. You can't just have a guy for that anymore in the NHL. You can't use a especially on D.
No, that just doesn't exist.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So he's going to play his minutes.
12, 14 minutes. Yep.
Right? And that was intentional. Trading for him was intentional with that in mind. If not also getting to the playoffs. I looked at the rest of the regular season as more of like a test. Who to play him with, how does it look, and how much does it compromise what we do well? And, I mean, Kesselring, I guess, or Bryson, who left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody who would be in that spot was going pretty well. Was going like record-setting well. And now it isn't. And it's not all his fault. But I don't think it's sort of confirmed my fears, what this would mean to their lineup so far. And that's, I mean, they're on the hook for that because you had a team that was winning constantly and decided that, you could look at it as just augmenting the lineup, but it's more than that. I mean, it's not just depth. He went right in and hasn't missed.
Mm-hmm.
So this was an intentional strategy to change the makeup of the Sabres. And time will tell how it ends is the point. So far, they're struggling relative to what they looked like before the deadline. And it really is an intentional move by Jarmo and the organization, if not just entirely him, to amend who they are. And that's also how they play a little bit when he's out there, the third pair.
I think what you have to hope for to some extent is that this lull they're in was coming regardless of whether Stanley was on your team or not. Like, if you'd kept everything the same, I think maybe you were in for a lull no matter what. Like, I think there's a lot that's going into it. Like, they haven't won only 2 of these 7 games because Logan Stanley is in the lineup, right? I mean, there's a lot of other things that are contributing to it. There's no arguing that he is not. I mean, and the third pair, I guess maybe with Bryson and Metsa, when that was the third pair, would have been one of the tiniest third pair in the history of the league, a little pair of D in the history of it. They probably move the puck pretty well. That's certainly something that both of those guys do pretty well. But Stanley is not coming in and being expected to play the way those other guys play. You're getting him for a specific role. You're going to start him. I think, that's penalty kill, and that's, I don't know, a heavy line against you in your own end. Like, that's it. So what I think you're hoping for is to be able to get by with 2 pair of D that can really be the engine of your team, offensively and defensively, and that you're going to survive. This is a really rocky way to put this, but it's where I am. You're going to survive the third pair shifts with Stanley and Metzer, or Stanley and whomever that ends up being. I also highly doubt. I would be stunned if it were Shen, barring injuries when the playoffs get here. You're hopefully going to get what he does well to complement everything else, knowing you are not going to move the puck as swiftly as you do with the other guys on the ice. It's just not going to happen. So it's really more of, I don't know, survive those shifts, and I don't know, what's the point of that? Like, unless you're so sure it's going to be so hard and heavy in the playoffs that you needed another bigger body. I mean, that's the bet they've made, but they were not expecting, and I don't think the caller's confused about this, but just the way he said it, like they don't move the puck. Of course they don't. He's not a puck-moving defenseman. They knew that when they got him. He's a certain kind of guy that they really didn't have, and now we got to decide if that's ultimately to their detriment or not. I don't take the current results as definitive evidence of that. I think this team was in for some sort of cool down before. I think they were just going to keep winning 8 out of every 10 games right into the playoffs. And then what? Just march to the sea? They were going to lose some games.
You say that, well, I'll put this as a form of a statement, but maybe it's wrong. You say that because they just didn't dominate possession, shot attempts. Like, they were not always superior in games like a team that you'd think they don't have to get into a slump would be.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Not just because of the law of averages or something.
No.
Or what happened in 06.
It was always so fine, like the line that they were on. Right. This is the Wyshynski, save percentage, shooting percentage point that, how close, how thin the margins can be. And I think you couple that with the comfort guys would feel at like getting to first place. We're going to make the playoffs. So it would take a debacle for them to miss. There's going to be an exhale moment there. I just think it's natural for it to happen. So a few things are sort of coinciding here that undeniably they made a philosophical change to how they're going to play with their third pair. That undeniably has happened. If Stanley's on the ice, that's evidence of that. Are the results that aren't good so far definitive evidence that was a horrible idea? Well, it's not looking good right now, but I think that can largely be explained away with a lot of other stuff, which is largely just everyone's attention to detail just coming down a little bit because, again, the exhale is here. And, that's why tonight is such an interesting evening because there should be all the reason in the world for every guy on that roster to leave everything out there they've got tonight. Their pride is there. The race in the division, this team tried to push them around the last time they played. As a competitor, if anything is going to get your attention, that should get your attention. So they should be at their best tonight. And if they're not, then I think I'll be, even though it's the best team you could possibly play out of a it's a hard team. So you could lose the game, but we know what it looks like if they play well and lose. They just haven't played well in a little while. But tonight should be a night where any sort of let off get the foot off the gas because we've been going so hard and running so hot, that should go away at least for tonight.
I thought they were somewhat unlucky in Ottawa. I saw more of that game than Saturday's. Didn't look like Saturday's was mostly luck or anything. But, man, the entire first period, a long section of that game early.
Well, their first period was very good, I thought.
They just had tons of good chances to score and couldn't. Then you get the Samuelson goal in the second and never score again. Like, that happens.
I thought Ottawa took the game, definitely, in my view, took that game over almost right after Samuelson scored. So back half of the game, Ottawa was the better team, pretty, significantly. It was still a close game, though. I mean, 2-1 empty netters.
Yep. Man, interesting to hear the caller say that Tampa would be the team looking for, if revenge isn't the word, you know what I mean by it. Like, to settle something, because they did lose. And Dahlin has that trait that, I'm not trying to defend Hagel for pounding on him when he's down. I mean, that's not even a man doing that. Like, that's a terrible move.
Yep.
And he should have been tossed easily, I thought. But Dahlin is the best player on the team, easily, I think. And he's the guy, whoever they play in the first round, this team tonight, everybody, he's the guy you go after. And I think Tampa probably feels like they can get away with that because they just did. When they were here, the guy didn't even get ejected. And he came back and scored later in that game. Like, it's pretty arrogant team, I think. And that happens for a reason. They've won a lot. And here's a new kid on the block, and, we're just not going to let you define terms.
And the Sabres had ragdolled them the last time in their building. That was definitely a part of what, that was a moment for Tampa to go like, I guess we got to try to teach these guys a lesson because they look pretty, like they think they're all that.
Dahlin is the one to watch because if I'm Tampa, he's the guy I care about the most. And Stanley or Shen will not be on the ice with him.
No,
like they're not going to be on the ice at that moment if there is a moment involving Dahlin. I would think an injury on either side could really be a game changer. I'm going to root against that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these teams it's been a great season, and it's close, and the rivalry is heated, and tonight is big. It'll be hard to see the Sabres winning this division if they can't win this game. And it's on to other matchups maybe, or even playing Tampa. You could even end up 1-4, and that's not great. Or 2-3.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of ways it could still shake. I mean, it's been even when you get Detroit looks like they're falling out of it, and this is they've done this a couple years in a row where they look like they're going to make it, and then it just gets away from them, and it's getting away from them. Suddenly, welcome to the party, Philadelphia. Philadelphia displaced the Islanders as the third-place team in the Metro yesterday. Now, of course, that can change, but you mentioned, right, Islanders are off until Thursday.
Yep.
This changed this coach. So they're just standing still for a few days here. So we'll see where they are by the time they get back on the ice here even. But, like, Philly did a nice job yesterday. I watched not every minute, but I had the game on the whole time. I walked away for, like, little bits of it here and there. But they got the juice of a hotshot college kid. Martone showed up, a high pick, 6th pick from last June's draft, and he assisted on a goal and got the winner in overtime, his first NHL goal. So they got there's a little juice there. But I wasn't expecting Philadelphia to show up. The reason I was rooting for Philadelphia is, to me, they'll be a weak team in the pool, so get them in there.
What's going to be the number? Flyers have 5 games left. They have 90 points now. At Jersey tomorrow. At Detroit Thursday. At Winnipeg Saturday. Carolina, Montreal, home back-to-back. 96, if they win the 3 road games against teams they're above, and even lose to Carolina, Montreal, maybe get 1 point there, 97, shouldn't that do it? Is 97, maybe not third, but wild card.
Yeah.
That should do it.
It would be surprising if it got much closer to 100 than that.
What's the final spot likely to be? Those teams have been dropping points, like Detroit, Columbus.
Right.
What is that number likely to be? Ottawa at 90, leaving the Flyers out because they're a top 3. That's automatic. Ottawa at 90. Islanders 89, Columbus 88, Detroit 88. Washington 87, if you want it.
97.
97 is the last seed?
Is the number I got right now. Yeah.
That's one of those teams winning 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
That would do it.
I feel like the way this year has gone, I sort of expect someone to do that.
You could. There are 4 teams.
It's right. So just really, one of them's just got to do that.
Ottawa has Tampa tomorrow. That's the backup goalie, or is tonight the backup goalie?
No, you'll get Vasilevsky tonight. I'd be very surprised if you didn't. I think that's expected.
Be a move.
Yeah, it would.
But they do play tomorrow. Then Ottawa has Florida at home on Thursday. They just got blown out in Florida, but that's a home game now. At the Islanders Saturday at 1. At the Devils Sunday night, Toronto. That's Ottawa's last 5. And they're at 90.
That's your wild card too.
It's
not what I wanted.
96, 97.
That's I think they get it done.
Beat Florida, beat Jersey, beat the Leafs, get a point from the Islanders or Tampa.
That's a good team. I really like if the goalie can hold up. Wallmark was great against the Sabres on Thursday. Great. He was great early, especially. I think with the way that their last game had gone prior to that, because that was, I think, that blowout in Florida that went so badly for him, and he got pulled early. If the Sabres had gotten to him and them early, I think could have been a very different story. But if he's right, and they look, Ottawa did that without Shabbat and without Jake Sanderson, And the kid, I always screw up his name. It's a Yamelchuk, whatever. They got a young guy that just showed up.
Woodchuck.
That's promising, and he was also out. So they had a real revolving door on D, and they still managed to handle the Sabres.
Detroit, 5 left at 88. Columbus at Detroit tomorrow. Almost must win for both those teams. Philadelphia at Detroit Thursday. Devils, then at Tampa at Florida.
Brutal loss for them yesterday. Did you see how Detroit lost to Minnesota yesterday? They fell down, I think it was 4-1 at one point, and they battled back and got it tied, and then Kane took a ridiculous tripping penalty in the neutral zone, like miles away from the puck. It was a penalty, and Minnesota scored on power play right away, 5-4, and that was it.
Late.
Yeah. It was at home, like the building was going. But imagine, right? You're in the heat of a wild card playoff race, and you're down big, and you're roaring back, and all the right guys, like DeBrincat scored one of the goals, like, oh, here we come. And then, just a thud.
They've lost 6 of 8, all losses in regulation, Red Wings. This is the first time the Sabres have lost 2 games in a row in regulation since Kevin Adams. The last 2 games before they beat Edmonton in early December. So 4 months, almost 4 months since they've lost 2 straight in regulation. 3, if they were lose tonight in regulation, would be the same games. Yep. They lost Philadelphia, somebody, Calgary, Winnipeg maybe.
I think that's right. I think that was the order.
Well, let's hope that doesn't
happen. Let's avoid that then.
It was Philadelphia, Winnipeg, Calgary, each by 3 goals. December 3rd through the 8th. 803-0550 for your calls before we get to the break. The caller mentioned the hobby.
Oh, yeah, you wanted to say something else about that.
I am presently somewhat active with my collection. I'm on eBay like every day now, just kind of looking and thinking. And yesterday for Easter, I found, I've had these in a box forever, like a few unopened packs, like from the junk years, 1991.
Oh, is that I saw
wrappers.
I saw wrappers on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, my kids each opened a pack of 1991 Donruss. And as you may know, if there are trivia buffs of this show, my wife has a Gary Carter problem. Because when she was a kid, as a Mets fan, she wrote Gary Carter, and he did not return her letter with any. She never got a response. So she's never liked the late great Gary Carter, and I've just always enjoyed that because there's so many possible reasons why that happened. I mean,
right?
Can't blame a guy, but she does, and it's funny. And each kid had Gary Carter in their pack. Playing for the Giants.
Wow.
1991 Donruss.
Right.
So, yeah. Easter for me, I was lucky as a kid. Easter Bunny, cards were my thing. And there would often be like even a box.
Ooh, wow.
Like a box in the 80s would have cost like $20 or something.
But that was the Easter basket?
That was my big Easter present. Several years in a row was like a box of cards. So like that's what I associate Easter with. Some people, it's religious or it's eggs. There could be different things. For me, it's like baseball cards.
All right.
So we got to sort of tap into that nostalgia yesterday. Okay, as we were saying, Sabres and Lightning tonight, pregame at 6, the update, and then we'll talk some more here on WGR.
Sabres pregame coming up in just about a half hour as Buffalo play host to Tampa Bay tonight, their first home game since clinching a playoff berth over the weekend. Again, pregame at 6 for a 7 p.m. puck drop. Some lineup notes for tonight. UPL is expected to start in net, while Tage Thompson also expected to play tonight. Thompson missed the morning skate earlier today. Lindy Ruff, though, did clarify it was due to having a maintenance day. While for the Lightning, Brandon Hagel will not play, according to their head coach, John Cooper. And the Sabres Injury Report, it is brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Door. Is your garage door injured? Call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. In the NFL, the Ravens began their offseason workout program today due to them having a new head coach in Jesse Minter. Every other team with a new head coach, including the Bills, will begin their programs tomorrow. And Giants All-Pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has requested a trade out of New York. And in college hoops, the national championship on the men's side of things is today. UConn taking on Michigan at 8:50. Michigan is looking for their first title since 1989, their second overall as a program, while UConn is looking to win 3 of the last 4 national titles. And if they can get that done, it would be their 7th overall as a program. And then North Carolina, they have their new head coach, as all reports are saying they're hiring former Nuggets head coach Mike Malone. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for West New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
We came back from a big deficit. They came back from a big deficit. Good on them for doing that. They were going to win a hockey game, and they did. It was one really, really entertaining game out of 82. You have to look at Buffalo more in the sense of like the whole season. Those are 2 teams that were not in the playoffs and both have made the playoffs now. Good on them. I don't think that one game defines either one of our teams.
John Cooper. Sabres and Lightning tonight. Pregame at 6. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. It's going to be Luke Schenn, it sounds like, in the lineup. Zach Metza comes out. Josh Dunn goes in. No Ostland yet. Luukkonen in net. 803-0550 for your calls.
No Hagel for Tampa. Sabrin, another pretty tough guy. Cooper said this morning was going to try to play.
Oh, I've done that.
So that'll be something maybe to watch in warm-ups.
I've tried to play. Usually doesn't work out.
Yeah.
We're watching the old Masters in here today. Getting in the mood for Masters Week. Is that what you would say is happening? Are you getting in the mood for Masters
I'm
Week?
already in the mood for the Masters. So I didn't need this to up that, but still, excellent.
Right? 1983 is my guess.
Look at this club Tom Kite is swinging right now.
It's a Mashy Niblick.
That is some old school gear that we're rocking here.
He's using a Mashy Niblick off the tee at Augusta. I love the old Masters.
Did you ever play with, when you first started playing, were you playing, you must have been playing with wooden, like those, yeah, same here.
I did what I think everybody does. You play with your dad's clubs.
Yeah, I didn't, my dad didn't have clubs, but some guy my mom worked with retired and got new clubs maybe as a gift. And so he gave a whole bag of clubs to my mom to give to me.
Okay.
And that was how, I got golf clubs now. I guess I'm going to go play golf.
I remember the first set of clubs I ever bought. It was in Rochester where I was starting to play a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have the sand wedge in my bag. Would have been like 99, 98, 99. I don't know what I used before that. It's probably hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
But then I bought my first set, and I still have the sand wedge.
I still have the 4-iron from the first set I bought, which was 96.
Love a 4-iron.
I was, using these clubs that I got from my mom until 96. And I was just started. It was the second year I was on the radio, and Don Schneider was running a driving range club place out on Transit Road near Lockport, if not in Lockport. And he saw me with these clubs and was like, you gotta get out of that. And so he got me some stuff that I then had for many, many years until I got the bug again and got new irons a few years ago. And the reason I still have the 4-iron is because when I ordered these new irons a couple of years ago, they were supposed to come 4 through whatever, gap wedge or something. Mm-hmm. And instead it was 5 through gap wedge. So I kept my 4-iron in the bag, and it's now my low runner. I got to hit a low shot.
Oh, a stinger.
It's my stinger club. And I practice with it. I do. I try to, because you're gonna have to scramble sometimes.
I love a stinger too.
So I have a stinger
Great
club. It's my old 4-iron.
I think I have the 3-iron from that first set too, in my bag. I probably have an illegal amount of clubs in my bag.
Maybe, yeah.
A friend gave me 10 years ago. He gave me like 3 or 4 wedges. He's the kind of guy that was always buying new clubs, and I've done it twice in my life. So he gave me. We were partners in a tournament, like 4 or 5 different wedges. I've never used any of them. Like, you've played with me. I don't have any of those. I don't have degrees on my clubs.
Okay.
They don't give you the degrees.
Right.
It's at PW and SW.
Right.
That's it. I never got into the other ones. This is 86. I think this is 86. Jeremy shared on Twitter today a clip of Jim Nantz talking about this tournament. It might have been his first Masters with CBS. And it's good. It's a story of like Nantz called a Nicholas putt. We're watching it, I think, right now, actually. Like the bear has come out of hibernation or something. He said he was nervous because maybe he had unwittingly stolen the line from a colleague that had said it earlier in the tournament. He didn't think so, but he didn't know. And like he was distracted by thinking like this kind of signature moment opportunity that maybe he had lifted the line. And I jumped in when Jeremy liked the Nantz clip. It's more than just that. It's about how he was down a little bit because he was shaken by that concern, and other people on his team like lifted him up and said, "You're going to be here a long time," that kind of thing. One of my favorite guests ever at this was Ben Wright, golf announcer for CBS at the Masters, and that was in Rochester. I don't think he's deceased now. I don't think he ever was on with us or with me here. But
I think I had him here with Kevin or Bowerly.
He was so much fun to talk to. He had a book, and I got to have him on through that. And then we were like a few different times he would come on. And the Nantz story is interesting that Jeremy shared because Nantz would know this. So Nantz is at 16, the par 3. When Nicholas, the famous story is that his son is on his bag. We just saw the shot. His son is on his bag. He hits his tee shot at the par 3, and he reaches down to pick up his tee with the ball in the air. And the son says, "Be right." And Nicholas just mutters, "It is," while he's picking the tee up. Right. And it's like 4 feet, makes the putt. And then Nantz says that thing. 15, Ben Wright's at 15. And Nicholas maybe eagles 15. And Wright's call is, "Yes, sir." And there's a long pause, and he says, "There's life in the old bear yet," with his awesome accent. So good. I mean, that's to me, that's the line of the tournament. So, yes, sir. 17, what happens? Nicholas is charging, and everybody's it's the best. It's like there's no other tournament like the 86 Masters. He has a chance to win now at 46. Totally unexpected. He is putting for birdie at 17. You've all seen it. The camera is directly facing Nicholas with the hole in between. It's like, 15-foot putt maybe. And there he is in his yellow shirt. And Vern Lundquist is at 17. And, I mean, I could just absolutely, all the time with me in this call, there's the putt, and Lundquist goes, "Maybe." "Yes, sir!" Like that. And so that's the iconic call of Nicholas in that tournament. It's not Nantz, and it's not Ben Wright. It's Lundquist. Maybe. It's so good.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Ben Wright is on my radio show in like 1999 or something, and we're talking about that, and he's pissed about it.
That Lundquist used the same line.
Yes, that Lundquist stole "Yes, sir," which maybe he did, maybe he didn't. He just said it.
Yeah.
But this is exactly the point of Nantz's story, and Nantz would know this, all of this.
Right.
So he didn't mention any of that today, but he could have if he thought of it. Like, and we also had
right.
No need to get into that. But that happened that day. And Ben Wright is on the air with me telling the story about how, like, Lundquist ripped him off or whatever with that "Yes, sir." And I remember saying to him, "That jerk," just to sort of like egg him on. I said to Ben Wright, "That jerk." And his response was, absolutely that jerk. And we played that bump a million times.
I was like half expecting him to go, all right, hey, now that's enough. Right? Vern Lundquist is a great broadcast.
No, exactly.
No, but he just piled on.
Exactly. That's right. We have an open where my name is mentioned and then some random clip of somebody saying, oh, that guy's kind of a jerk. Not about me, but, you know.
Yeah.
And you could literally have used Ben Wright's voice, also not talking about me. Absolutely that jerk. So that's why I remember that so well. 86 Masters. This is the putt. Now, this is the Lundqvist putt we're watching, which is of no interest or use to anybody listening.
Everybody, yeah. Right. Even people watching can't see it.
National championship tonight, before we get back to the Sabres. Do you care who wins?
I don't want Danny Hurley to win anything ever again, ever. So I guess, yeah. Go whoever's playing.
Michigan.
Do the UConn coaches get like extra NIL money for the program by being jerk? Like, just like, what is going on with them? Because Oriema on the week was a grade A jackass, and this Hurley like headbutting the ref and like all the just. There's been stuff. I'm not disputing the greatness of the coaches. They're obviously like Hurley. That program has been fantastic with him there, so he obviously knows what he's doing. But I don't like jerks, and both of these guys are grade A jerks lately. I mean, they're acting
not
like
liked your attitude lately.
Yeah, not so.
Absolutely that jerk.
I'm go whoever's playing UConn is where I'm at.
A lot of jerk in this segment.
Yeah.
Oriema, what a baby.
Yeah.
So he carried the whole night. He carried it around that she did not say hello to him.
At the beginning of the game. He went and stood there, and he said he stood there for 3 minutes.
And she claims, and I believe her, that she went down the line of coaches and shook hands, but just missed him or something. Like, I don't know. Maybe that was intentional. But he was bothered by that, and now the game is about to. He also did an interview, I read, but maybe between the third quarter and the fourth quarter.
Yeah, where he complained about they tore one of my jerseys, and it turned out the woman did it to her own shirt. Like it wasn't from rough play by South Carolina or anything. Yeah, he just looked like he made a fool of himself.
He said that if he talked to the officials the way she did, he would be thrown out. He's like, I don't know if there's a double standard here. What a big baby. He's won 12 national titles.
Yeah.
And then all that at the end, what an embarrassment. Then South Carolina goes and gets stomped in the final.
UCLA, right.
But, yeah, I mean, UConn, tough to like. They're playing Michigan, though, and I just cannot like Michigan ever. It's the Buckeye in me. I care about 6.5. That's what I want. Okay. I want to cover.
All right.
Let's get a Michigan win so you're happy, but by less than 6.5.
Okay.
Let's have that. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, 803-0550. Paul Hamilton at 6. Lots to talk about with the Sabres in advance of tonight's game with Tampa, the lineup, the 2 losses in a row, and what are we getting tonight from these two teams after what happened last time. Back after this break, this is WGR. I'm not sure we've actually once pointed out that the Sabres have clinched a playoff spot, or did so on the weekend. I guess we did talk about
but
how
no celebration, right?
That's right.
Right.
But in itself, I mean, that actually did happen. This all has happened. They're in.
Yes.
There's no need to worry about that anymore.
You just worry about first, second, third, seeding, whatever. Yep, that's it.
And what's your latest on how important all of that is? What do you want to avoid?
I mean, I'd like to avoid Ottawa. So, if it.
Then you want to lose.
Yeah, right.
Maybe.
Right. Or, right. I maybe not finishing first is maybe the best way to guarantee that, because I doubt. I mean, they're not catching. They're 10 points back. They're not. Forget it. So Montreal, Buffalo, 2-3. I know this might sound crazy. I would rather play Montreal than Ottawa. I think Ottawa's a better overall team. I think Montreal's got higher end stuff there in a few guys, but top to bottom, I think I like Ottawa. The goaltending is mostly a push.
Would you think Ottawa could give Tampa trouble, or anyone?
Yeah, yeah. I think they will be, if Ullmark makes saves. I mean, what does this say about? I think they're as good as any team in the conference. They're as good as Buffalo to me if their goalie plays all right. All year they led the league. I don't know if this has changed. It probably couldn't change notably this late in the year. But going into at this time last week, I think the story on them was 24 shots on goal a game against. Lowest total shots against in the league. Last in the league in save percentage. I mean, the fact that they're even above water at all, to me, that's a very good team that'll get Sanderson is excellent. Shabbat's very good. This other kid that had a concussion. I think that's a good hockey team.
Right now they are, by the way, 30th out of 32.
Okay.
Vancouver is last now.
I would rather, if finishing first means I draw Ottawa and finishing second means I play Montreal, I think I would rather play Montreal. That's just me.
Well, and you might think that finishing first will mean you play Ottawa. It depends on Carolina. Whoever finishes higher of the first place teams would play the last wild card.
I'm more likely to play Boston right now if I finish first.
I guess.
Right? Because they're 5 points behind. And so.
But Carolina is 104.
Yep.
And Tampa is 102. And Buffalo is 100. And Montreal is 100, right?
Right.
So let me see what Carolina's got. I mean, there's so much teams playing each other. Carolina, 5 games left. They're at 102, we said?
104.
104. They have Boston at home tomorrow, at Chicago, at Utah, at Philadelphia, at the Islanders.
Congratulations.
Can't do it every time.
Congratulations.
You can't do it every
time.
time.
Through that.
You can't do it every time.
We're all real impressed.
Boston, at Chicago, at Utah, at Philadelphia, at the Islanders. Islanders, maybe it's what do they have to play for?
Yeah.
Could go either way. Philadelphia also. This is next week. These games are Monday, Tuesday next week. But Chicago, you'd like them. Utah's in it. They're going, right? They're going.
Yeah, Utah's in great shape. Yeah, they have like a stranglehold on a wild card spot.
All right, that's Carolina. Back to the Sabres and the Lightning, getting ready to meet downtown. Pregame next here on WGR.